We're here. You're here. Everyone's back at work. Throw the challenge flag. Take another day off. It's the Carton Show. And what do we do every morning? Good morning, everybody.
Hey.
That guy right there is David Jacoby. This half the pants right here is going to do yeoman's work today because Greg Jennings disappeared on us and Victor Cruz is in Curacao or something. He's not back till tomorrow. That, of course, is Willie Colon.
Yes, sir.
It is Tuesday. Welcome back to the work week. Welcome to 2024. And welcome to a little something we like to call Tuesday a Morning Headlines. Well, we got a double dipper last night. Started with Michigan and Alabama. And overtime we go.
Yeah,
Blake Corum is a man. So is Einhorn, but that's a whole different scenario right there. As Michigan wins in overtime by a touchdown over Alabama. So congratulations to Jimmy Harbaugh and the Wolverines in the maize and blue and all that good stuff. I was rooting for Michigan.
Me too.
Not because of gambling standpoint, because I hate Alabama. And I hate Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Much like I hated Mike Krzyzewski in Duke and Lou Holtz in Notre Dame. So good job by Michigan. Great game. They win game one.
I loved it, man. The fact that you also got to understand Michigan was 0-2 in the college football playoffs, right? And now here they go, big win against Alabama. And for me, I don't know what took Alabama so long to figure out that if you run the ball, commit to the run, you're probably going to come out top. They try to get too pretty and spread it out. And Michigan was like, we got this.
I'll just say this, and we'll show a little bit later on in today's show because I'm not going to bog you down with the details. It's college football at the end of the day. And if you didn't have money on the game or go to Michigan or Alabama, you might not care outside of me having a rooting interest against the big bully that's been Alabama for the last 25 years with the season on the line and a chance to win a championship. And the best play you've got is running the ball up the middle. I swear to God, I thought I was watching a Jets game. I swear to God. I was like, is Robert Saleh coaching Alabama now?
Is Nick Hackett involved?
That was a horrible call.
Anyhow, so Michigan advances in game one. Game two last night, I fell asleep at halftime, but it turned out to be a great ending if you like high-scoring games, and obviously agita, which I do at the end. Quinn Ewers in Texas. Right there, that would have tied an extra point, would have won it, and give the Huskies credit. They've been the second best team all year. Michigan has been the best team all year. And now no argument here. It's number one against number two, and congratulations to Washington.
This Penix kid can throw the deep ball. He's
a hell of a game.
laser show all over the place. The deep balls are perfectly in the breadbasket every single time. And even like the 15-yard, 10-yard passes are just absolute lasers in the chest.
He's also in his ninth year, I think, of college.
17.
What I thought it was really cute. I thought it was cute that his grandkids were at the game watching. I thought that was awesome. You don't get that.
Right. Look at me.
So next Monday night, you get the national championship. Number one versus number two. Michigan, Washington. Congratulations. And if you did wager on it, fingers crossed, you won your bet. All right, headline number three. Back to the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Mike McCarthy talking about the Dallas Cowboys being in a position right now to win the NFCs and get the number 2 seed. And there's a quote in there. I'll let you hear it later on, but I'll just kind of paraphrase it now. He was talking about how it's great that this year's Dallas Cowboys put themselves in position to win the East and be the 2 seed. And we're all kind of chuckling here because didn't the referees do that?
And the Eagles, don't forget the Eagles.
I was about to say, the Eagles lost to the Cardinals.
Last time I checked, the Dallas Cowboy defense failed in the last drive against the Dolphins, failed in the last drive against the Lions. The Eagles pooped the bed against Arizona, and the referees decided they wanted to see Dallas at home in the postseason.
And this is after Dan Campbell pretty much said, we may have gotten too cute on the last play there.
So?
We could have dialed that back a little bit and still got it too. I don't know what Mike McCarthy's talking about right now. Like, the bottom line, you have an issue on defense. You can't get off the field until you mentioned. And offensively, you've regressed, right? This is talking about from week 8 through 14, this was an offense that was putting up 30 points. Now you're down to like averaging 20. So what do you
know what's interesting about that? We all discussed it a lot that, when they went through that streak of playing bad teams, we all thought it was good because all these other guys got involved. It wasn't just the CeeDee Lamb show, right? And all of a sudden, they've reverted back to, and I know Julio Jones had 2 touchdowns and all that stuff, but they've reverted back now. I totally came up with the wrong player and the wrong team.
Wrong team, wrong player.
I got to own that. Julio Jones is still an Eagle.
He's an Eagle,
I got the Eagles on my mind.
But do you appreciate the commitment from me and Jacoby?
You're right, Craig. Get him, Craig.
Totally right.
Get him, Craig.
We all know Julio plays for the Eagles, but consistency he played for Cowboys. He played for the Cowboys.
He did a touchdown.
I got 200 Super Line mistakes here. And please call me on the next time.
No,
I'm
America knows your heart.
No, but like Cooks and other guys getting involved. And now the last couple weeks, it seems like it's CeeDee Lamb or bust. And that's not going to bode well for them if they are trying to get to a Super Bowl.
Well, we talked about to do well in the playoffs, you need a defense, you need a run game. The fact that Tony Pollard hasn't been a focal part of this offense, it shows you why they kind of teeter.
Is he still on the team?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, bro, I kept waiting week 2, week 3, week 4 for Tony Pollard
Somebody's
to do
gonna
anything.
pop. Yeah.
I've got a good idea. Why don't we talk about the Julio Jones Eagles? Can we do that?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
2 touchdowns.
We got a great show for you today. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back. Appreciate you being back at work and joining us here on FS1. Eagles are next. Hey, the guy with the most punchable face in the NFL is still Nick Sirianni. Hey, look at this. Go Cardinals. Go Cardinals. Yeah. Oh, Michael.
Nice tackle,
Kyler
Murray.
Woo! Touchdown.
Great touch.
The worst loss of the year for the Eagles, of course, was this past weekend. A chance to be the number 1 seed, win the NFC, it's all that good stuff. And now they're not only the number 1 seed, San Fran's got that. They probably won't win the division either. All Dallas has to do is beat Washington. So Nick Sirianni is under fire because the biggest change he made during this kind of poor play from the Eagles was obviously going to Matt Patricia, demoted their defensive coordinator, elevated Matt Patricia to be the new defensive coordinator. Why don't we go to a full screen shot of the stats since the Eagles made that change, and let's see if it worked out for Philadelphia. In 3, 2, 1, Yahtzee. Right there. So Matt Patricia's defense, 2 points worse per game. About 50 yards worse on the ground defensively per game. Fewer, the whole thing sucks. The whole thing sucks.
Blow
Fewer
it up.
turnovers, the whole thing. So obviously, their defensive coordinator was not the problem. Obviously, Matt Patricia, not the answer. This is a team that a year ago led the league with like 70 sacks,
yes, sir.
and they've got half as many sacks this year. That can't just be scheme, Willie. That's also got to be the players on the field just not getting the job done. And that includes a guy that we thought might be Defensive Rookie of the Year in Jalen Carton.
Yeah, it's called 1-2, Craig, and I don't see it anymore with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's the bottom line. When you go to last year, you knocked Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson out of the NFC Championship game. You have 70 sacks last year. I thought this Eagles defense was easily top 5 in the league.
No doubt.
Hands down.
Yep.
Starting with the front 7 because their ability to get after the pass rusher and stop the run. As of late, what the hell has happened to this Philadelphia defense? Seriously, they can't get off the field on 3rd down. They're an absolute liability in the secondary, and this daunted defense that did well against the pass, you can't find them. They don't pop off the tape.
A couple other things from that defense. It's the worst. I'm not exaggerating here. This is the worst defense in the league over the course of the last 2 months. And if you look at their last 10 games, 7 of the last 10 games, they've given up 30 points, and it's not like every game was against a playoff team or a world beater. This defense is like a sieve.
It used to be, you can throw on this defense, but now you can run all over this defense. When you're watching this Cardinals game, like, they came back running the football.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers that they had between Connor and Carter. It was like 221 yards on the ground. Craig, that is the most they have given up since 2016. That's 7 years.
But there's also like an attitude adjustment that happened that I just don't understand. Like, you got Kyler Murray coming off the couch, if you will, coming into Philly. And the Philly, by the way, offense put up 31 points. That's enough to win you any NFL game in modern day football, right? And the fact that they came to Philly when you needed the win, when you needed everything to go right your way, and it did offensively and defensively, which let's be honest, the beginning of the season's defense was like, okay, they got it. And there's something that happened in the middle of the season where nobody's tackling, the secondary is a liability, they're not getting after the quarterback, and it all looks like they're just waiting to get put to sleep.
And they've been panicking for a while. They panicked when they brought Shaq Leonard in, right? A former Pro Bowl defensive player. They panicked, obviously, when they tried to teach Jalen Hurts how to fall and not fumble. So there's been all these little signs, like almost like chinks in the armor, if you will, that they've tried to address, all while publicly denying that we've got ourselves a problem. And then, of course, comes A.J. Brown, who no one's going to argue is their most talented wide receiver. All due respect to Devontae Smith. A.J. had that great 5-week run, 130-plus yards. Is he the greatest wide receiver in Eagle history, which is what they were talking about on the radio in Philadelphia earlier in the year. And after the embarrassing loss to Arizona, he decides to shun the media, won't speak to the media, won't talk to anybody else either. And now the stories are coming out that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and a bunch of other guys are not mad at the fans. They're not mad at the media, but they are very upset with Nick Sirianni, which is what I've been saying all year long. Nick Sirianni is not a coach that's going to lead a team from the abyss. He's a coach that's going to get on Secretariat and ride that bitch until he crosses the finish line first.
Right.
That's what do we call that?
Front
Yeah,
runner.
that's right. That's right. I was looking for front runner. I came up with bitch. That's on me. I take
the same. It's the same.
I take ownership.
Yeah.
Tomato, potato,
Right.
potato, bitch. That's how I come up with that.
AJ Brown said that he was upset. His teammates said that he was upset with the coaches, right? And then there's Sean Desai. There was reports that he wasn't confident enough to control the locker room. And then you bring in Matt Patricia. What about Matt Patricia makes you confident? We saw what he did with the Lions. He was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots last year. One of the worst offensive units I've ever seen. So it's like, this guy's here to fix the problem? He's here to fix the problem?
He is a chemical engineer or something like that, or like an aerospace engineer. Like, he's a really smart guy.
Josh Dobbs. That's Josh Dobbs.
You got a pencil in your ear doesn't make you smart.
No, he's
a backwards hat and a pencil in the air doesn't make you a genius.
No, but like legitimately, he's like a neurospace engineer.
He failed in
That's something to
Detroit.
fall back on.
He was horrible in Detroit. He's horrible in Philly.
Yeah.
I don't want my football coaches to be my defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but I gotta be
aerospace
honest. I
engineer.
used to love that pencil look. The
the
pencil
pencil
goes
is a
like,
good look.
that guy's so much smarter than me. Why? He's got that pencil on his hat. Like, how does he keep it there? You know, that kind
No,
of
he
thing.
looks like a cook at a diner.
What's that, the
Hey, you want
waitress?
the loaf?
Yeah.
We got fresh
You said no
potatoes.
tomatoes? You
Yeah.
said no tomatoes?
Yeah, you want more potatoes? I got
Well
those.
done. How well do you want it?
Yeah.
It is great that the Eagles, answer for all their problems, was to come up with the worst offensive coordinator in the history of football, arguably the worst head coach in the history of football in Detroit, and a guy that basically made his bones in the NFL, like a lot of people have, on the back of Tom Brady's performance, in New England. And I got to be honest, I love every second of it. I cannot get enough. It's almost like, Eagle fans are in the ocean and they're drowning. And there is a life preserver nearby, but I just won't give it to them.
But look how bad of a loss it was when Jonathan Gannon was the D coordinator for the Eagles.
And he's doing amazingly, even though the Cardinals suck, he's doing a good job.
He peacocked off the field like, I told you it wasn't me. Like, what are you talking? He did a hell of a job with this defense, and his defense is falling week after week. It's bad, man.
Look
It's
at the
bad
way
in
we're
Philly.
discussing this team that was 10-1, and they had like one fluky loss to the
Yes.
Jets. Like they were 10-1.
Yeah.
They were like the best team in football at one point.
To be fair, I'm glad you brought that up, Jacoby, because what I think we all should have done in retrospect, and I didn't do it either at the time, but I think you look back with hindsight, it should be 2020, right? When the Eagles lost to the Jets, we should have known right then and there that there was something wrong with them because the Jets suck. And the fact that
They rebounded, too.
the point is, you lose to the Jets, there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
That's how
but
I
to
view
pat
it.
ourselves in the back a little bit, even in those wins, we were like, it
Yeah.
doesn't look 100% right.
Yeah, but winning's winning at the end of the day. Now the problem is they don't know. They don't have an identity, right? Like defensively, this was a team that got after the quarterback. Like they have plays. Like you got Heretic in these guys, Jalen Carter. You now have Shaq Leonard. Like you got guys who made plays. They're not making plays anymore. They had the one interception Sunday, and that hadn't happened. I think all season, damn near.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Winning is winning, but losing is losing. But losing to the Cardinals is losing.
Yeah,
I thought that was the Jets. It's the Cardinals.
The Cardinals too.
Think about a
And
team
both
that
those in
lost to
one
the
season.
Jets and the Cardinals.
Yeah, but the Cardinals were 3-12 going into that game. 3-12.
Like, I know we have to
If they
take a
win
break,
the
but
Super Bowl.
if you're holding out hope that you're going to the Super Bowl, you're the only team that lost to the Cardinals and the Jets. You ain't going to no Super Bowl.
No.
I can tell you that right now. And yeah, more on the Eagles dysfunction a little bit later on in the show. Coming up in just a moment, just give us like 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to show you some video that's not safe for work, so I'm excited about that. And we'll get back into how the Detroit Lions rebound from getting screwed by the refs last Saturday night. Lots cooking. It's Tuesday. It's FS1. It's the Carton Show. By the way, I promised you some video that's NSFW, not safe for work.
Oh, nice.
So Brooks Koepka is married to the beautiful Jenna Sims, and they celebrated New Year's Eve, I guess, live golf style. Just show the video. It speaks for itself. Please, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey.
You love it.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
sparklers.
By the way, I do feel bad for all the ugly women there.
Yeah.
Because we all know you're hot. You have to flaunt it with sparklers.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's how. That's self-advertisement right there.
Yeah. Why? Hold on a second. Let me swipe that off your
sorry.
mouth. There we go. Get that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy in the back.
I like how it's on loop
by himself.
Yeah. No, I swear to God, I never danced. I swear to God.
Right.
Anyway, congratulations to Jenna
for you,
Sims.
Brooks. I was waiting.
And Brooks Koepka's also like one of the most boring guys in the world, which always proves my thought on these types of things. If you're wealthy and famous, good-looking girls come out of the woodwork for you.
Yeah.
And
That's your thought?
That's true. Happens at strip clubs all the time.
Just a unique thought I just case in point, Rick Ocasek, the late lead singer of the Cars, landed Paulina Porzakova, the hottest model of the 80s.
I know who that is.
He looks like Emu.
No.
Right? And I know he's dead, but he looks worse now, I guess. But you get my point.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
Chicks,
watch.
big money.
Yeah, you bet.
That's what it comes down to.
Let's go to First in Football. Jacoby's got a couple stories we can't wait to hear.
First in football, we all remember this, the two-point conversion that was and then was not, the reporting, the not reporting, blah, blah, blah. Let's listen to head coach of the Lions, Dan Campbell, address how they're going to move forward.
We're not going to we're going to feel sorry for ourselves and wallow in everything. We had plays to make, we didn't make them. And it's a tight game, a good opponent, playoff-type atmosphere, and you got to make that one extra play that we didn't. And so we will use this as fuel. I got pure octane right now. I woke up, I'm ready.
He's ready.
Okay,
He's ready.
Yeah.
So, Craig, question for you is twofold. Sort of how does this affect them sort of in the seedings and standings and the actual games, and how does this affect them emotionally?
Well, emotionally, I think they're mad, which might not bode
Which is
well.
a good thing.
Yeah, I do think it's a good thing.
Really loves anger.
But here's the issue with it. It's great to use octane, like he said, and piss and vinegar and all that stuff. But there's nothing to play for this weekend. So, yeah, you want to go take it out in the first half against the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. I get it. And that kind of thing.
Nick Mullins.
But, I don't think it helps them in the playoffs. So I think that it can help them again in a very short amount of time in a meaningless game against the Minnesota Vikings. I will say this, though. At the beginning of that quote right there, to me, he's calling out Jared Goff. He's reminding Jared Goff when it comes to the playoffs and competitive games that may very well come down to a play here, a play there. Yes, we went for it 3 times, obviously. Yeah. The first one got called back. The second one, they get blessed by the Micah Parsons offsides. And then the third one, which is from the 3.5, 4-yard line, dude's open.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff doesn't throw a good pass. And my gut is that's a little message to Jared Goff. You need to be better.
Yeah, and I think he will be better. But I like the fact that the Lions are pissed off, right? You had a chance to win 12 games, right? They haven't done that. That would be the second time in their franchise history if they was to have 12 games.
Yeah.
When you talk about being robbed, like I say after time, beat me, don't cheat me. They were cheated. Bottom line,
100%. And no one's going to argue that. It is.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're Dan Campbell right now, take everything you went through this season, all the uncertainty with golf and the lack of defense at times, and you bottle that up because there's nothing like a team going into the playoffs pissed off when nobody's really counting you out. Because he said at the end of his presser at the Sunday game, he goes, listen, we're going to see the Cowboys again. And when we get there, we're bringing brass knuckles and baseball bats. And I love everything about that. So if you're the Lions, don't defer from it. Don't say we continue to pack that chip on your shoulder and go to work and give them help.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what they do against Minnesota, right? They've got the division locked up. They got a home playoff game the following week. There's no bye or anything like that. So now the question is, how long do you even play like a Monte Brown? How long do you play Montgomery? How long do you play Jared Goff? I think they're going to have to play him for a quarter because of what he just said.
Right.
If the coach is, full of octane, and these practices are going to be, damn it, they screwed us. Damn it, they screwed us. And all that kind of stuff. You can't do that and then have all the backups playing.
I was fortunate enough when I was in this position, especially as a Steeler, if the offense, this is Mike Tomlin, if we didn't come out and look like how we were supposed to look and kind of hit the
Stay in the
checklist,
game?
we stayed out there.
Got it.
Like, he was like, we're not limping into the playoffs, and we were not going to have any lack of confidence going into the playoffs. If we're going to run the ball, we need to run the ball, and whatever we need to iron out, we're going to do it.
I tell you what, though, I would not fret. As a matter of fact, I would say a couple prayers tonight if you want me to. A rematch of Dallas Detroit at some point.
Oh, yeah. In Dallas.
as they say, I'll sign up for that. It'll be the Octane Bowl.
Octane Bowl.
Okay.
Brought to you by Octane.
I'm glad you brought up the Steelers, Willie, because that is our second down topic. And your guy, Mike Tomlin, says that Kenny Pickett is healthy and available to practice.
He's playing?
However, does that mean he is the starting quarterback? Let's listen to your former head coach, Mike Tomlin.
We're going to leave the ball in Mason Rudolph's hands.
Yes.
He's done a good job, and we've done a good job in the most recent 2 weeks. We've taken care of the ball. He's taken care of the ball. We scored points at a rate in which we hadn't done to this point this year. And with the urgency of the moment and because of those reasons, we're going to leave the ball in his hands.
Okay, Willie, how do you feel about your guy, Mike T, sticking with Mason Rudolph?
Yeah, because he doesn't believe in Kenny Pickett. That's just what it is. It's called facts. So you talk about the last 2 weeks, your run game has come alive. The whole nonsense with, Pickens is out the window. Pickens is actually playing big-time football for them. They're doing a lot of things better with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. And that's a stat to prove it right there. You talk about, listen, Mason Rudolph doesn't have any interceptions, right? Like, he's doing a hell of a job of protecting the football, 2 touchdowns. His passing ratings are really good. He's 65% completion rate. So he's playing great football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he has to go to Baltimore and do it. Now, whatever happens to Baltimore, if Lamar plays, who doesn't know, doesn't care. But the Steelers need to win, and they trust Mason Rudolph.
The Steelers are favored in Baltimore against the best team in football. And by the way, it's not because Mason Rudolph. It's playing numbers. It's not like your Ben Roethlisberger came back, and they're like, oh my God, we're gonna have a good offense. It's the Ravens aren't playing anybody. And the Steelers are still playing for, obviously, their playoff lives. But the reality is this, and I put them on my hands right here. Here's the difference.
It's Pyro.
It's a brand. I don't know. Mason Rudolph is the hand ninja. That's what he is. He's got big enough hands to throw the ball successfully.
Sure.
And Kenny Pickett does this. It's all about the hands.
That's what it is.
That's why Tom said he's going to keep the ball in Mason Rudolph's hands because Kenny Pickett's hands.
Maybe because he's been on his team for like 5 years and finally figured it out. Maybe.
And by the way, it's funny when we put those stats up there and Mike Tomlin talks about how our offense looks better and we're scoring more points. It's because they're running the ball really well.
100%.
Like Najee Harris was a beast in their win against Seattle this past week.
Remember last year when Cooper Rush was playing well for the Cowboys? It was like, do they bring Dak back? This is not that kind of situation.
And here's my point. Leave that up there for a sec, guys. Mason Rudolph has thrown 2 touchdown passes. So let's just add the extra point to both of those. That's 14 points. There's 18 more points they're getting from other people not named Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, and finally got that run game going. Like, for me, it comes down to confidence. They trust Mason Rudolph. Kenny Pickett is absolutely in the second year, not where he needs to be. And they tried to ride with him. And even though he's healthy, you say, listen, young fella, we'll see you next year.
And by the way, this is smart, right? Because you have won a couple games in a row now. For whatever the reasons are, the offense is performing better, putting more points on the board. And it's not like you benched or, I know he got hurt, but it's not like Kenny Pickett was, the best quarterback in football. So I think what Mike Tomlin's doing is what a lot of coaches should do. I'm going with the hot hand. I'm going with the pyro hand. All right? See what I did there? I'm going with the guy that in recent memory has brought us to W's, right? It's not about Kenny Pickett's our starter. You can't lose your job because of injury. F that. This is about we have a chance right now with help to get into the playoffs. This dude's playing better. He plays.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, this is a sigh of relief for Mike Tomlin. Why? Because you can't trust Pickett. Trubisky was an absolute nightmare. And so you're like, Rudolph, do something, right?
Hand the ball off.
Hand the ball off and don't turn it over, and they win football.
So here's the deal. How does Pittsburgh get in? First, you got to win your game. You lose to the Ravens, it's a wrap.
Pretty much.
If you win the game, then it comes down to the Bills have to lose to the Dolphins, and the Jaguars. Who the Jaguars play?
Titans.
Jaguars have to lose to the Tennessee Titans. One of those 2 things has to happen. There's a backdoor way to get in with a loss. You lose, Titans beat Jacksonville, and the Denver Broncos win a meaningless game. So you got to win and then cross your fingers and hope. But
Craig,
that's the reality.
This all could have been avoided by what? Beating the 2 worst teams in football, and the New England Patriots and Arizona Cardinals. You beat those teams, you're not in this predicament right now.
Right.
Like, this is what pisses me off about the Steelers. How did you lose to Kyler Murray and Zappy? For all Christ's sake.
I agree.
I agree
100%.
Moving on to third and football, the Chiefs have won their division 8 straight times. Patrick Mahomes has led the Chiefs 7 of those 8, and here he is discussing how this year it's different.
I mean, obviously, the season hasn't been. We're not winning this in week 12 or week 13 like we have before. I mean, we had to battle through adversity and find a way to win this game, but it's not over.
Is this the worst you have felt about the Chiefs at this point in the season under Mahomes?
Oh, yeah, not even close.
Yeah,
They've been a dominant team. Like you said, it's usually week 12 or 13, and we're trying to figure out what do we do for the entire month of December when it comes to playing guys. And it's for all the obvious reasons we've talked about. They don't commit to the run enough. They lead the league in drops. Kelsey, while he's probably going to have a 1,000-yard year and 100 catches are pretty damn close, not having the dominant year. Went an entire half without a single catch against Cincinnati this past weekend. So all the things that they did really, really well are now being exposed, and they're not doing it as well. I've said a million times, I do not trust the Chiefs, but I do trust Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and that's why they are always a threat once you get into the postseason to make a run.
Yeah, I don't trust the Chiefs because they've lost that wow factor for me. This is a team that at one point, no matter what you put up, how many points you put on them, they can come from behind and win. Travis Kelce was a big red zone threat. He's no longer that. Defensively, during the middle part of the season, they were them, right? They were sneaky good, and they were able to hold up. They're not them anymore. So Patrick Mahomes, valid, he's all world, and we know his resume speaks for himself. The problem is the Chiefs, for the first time, you can really think about, no matter home or away, they can lose a playoff.
And not just that, Willie, there have been half a dozen plus games this year where they've been held scoreless for an entire half of football.
Yeah.
In this 8-year run, and I guess the first year is Alex Smith, I assume that's right, and then Patrick Mahomes, of course, the next 7. I don't know if that ever happened, where that offense was held to 0 points for 30 full minutes, and it happens regularly now. So I think that's a problem. Settling for field goals is a problem. The drops are a problem. The offensive line is a problem. The failure to commit to the run game is a problem. And I know their defense played a lot better against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know Chiefs fans are pointing to that as, oh, you see, our defense is back.
Finally won us a
No
game.
disrespect. You played against a backup quarterback. Stop. Stop. It's obnoxious.
You got 6 sacks.
Guys,
It's obnoxious.
Okay,
it's 4th down, and we're going for it.
Yes.
We're going for it. We're going to the NFC North, where we have Jordan Love and the Packers. They control their own futures. They can win, and they are in the playoffs. And here is Love, who's been great lately, talking about exactly that.
We didn't know what to expect coming to the year. We didn't have any expectations. So, I think everybody's just continue to work, continue to find ways to get better. And we're controlling our destiny right now. So I'm excited to go handle business next week.
Got a very young team, young quarterback. If they beat the Bears, they are in the playoffs, which is surprising. Do you expect Love to play them in the playoffs?
No, I don't. I think the Chicago Bears win this game.
What are you doing?
I think the Bears
Why
win.
are you like
In
first
Lambeau.
of all, everybody that has a feel-good story, you're like, I hate happiness. I hate
Jordan hate.
Right. Hate.
I'm sorry. I think the Bears win this game. I think Justin Fields has a great game. And remember, in Chicago, they're trying to figure out, are we going to try to trade Justin Fields and pick another quarterback and kind of kick that quarterback contract down the curb for another 3 or 4 years before we have to give big money to our quarterback? And let's give Justin Fields a little credit. He has played much better football of late, especially against the Detroit Lions. You saw him last week playing great. And this is a game that's going to determine Justin Fields' future as a quarterback in the NFL, specifically with Chicago or maybe wherever they decide to trade him. So full well Justin Fields is coming out with DJ Moore to ball out. And if they can be responsible for knocking a division foe out of the playoffs, that's a Super Bowl win for the Chicago Bears. So don't think this is a meaningless game for Chicago. Their quarterback is playing for his future, and the franchise is playing, remember, a year ago.
Lions.
Aaron Rodgers in Chicago, his last game against the Bears as the Green Bay Packer quarterback. I own you.
He did say that.
Remember that?
Yep.
I know this game is in Green Bay.
Correct.
But what a great get back for the Bears franchise to turn it on Green Bay and say,
yeah, no, it's not happening. Jordan Love has arrived.
You'll be wrong on this one.
The bottom line is
You're going to be wrong.
Offensive line, they're doing a good job. Defensively, they're playing better football. I get it. The Bears are a different team. Fields is playing better. Ever since their emergence of Sweats, and once he got traded for Washington, they look great on defense. But overall, Jordan Love is that guy. So don't get it twisted.
Dude, it's so bad the Packers have the sirens going off right now.
Oh, man.
concern. I think Chicago Bears win this game outright, and they said
Outright in Lambeau.
Outright.
You don't believe it.
Greg, you remember
ain't that
last
good
year,
at home.
Week 18 last year, the Detroit Lions did the same thing the Bears are trying to do. Sent the Packers home, kept them out of the playoffs.
Send him home. Now, by the way, I think Jordan Love had a very good, essentially rookie year.
Oh, he's great.
For Green Bay.
Yeah,
I think
he played well Sunday.
They have a quarterback.
He
played
so I
great.
think it's all good. But let's be honest, America, unless you're a Packer fan or you're invested financially in the outcome of this game on the Green Bay side, we're all rooting for Chicago to win this game.
I'm not. I want Jordan Love to kick butt.
Green Bay's had enough winning for a
I think
while.
we can literally invest financially
Why do
in the
you
Packers.
hate success?
Huh?
Why do you hate success?
Because my teams have never brought me any. I told you I'm into.
That sounds like a me problem.
Knicks won yesterday.
What's it called? Stockholm
Big Knicks
syndrome,
win.
or a Munchausen.
Schadenfreude is what you're trying to go for.
Schadenfreude, yeah. Whoever that guy was, smart guy. I get joy out of other people's failures in life.
Me too.
I love it.
Aren't you happy for Jordan Love and how he's emerged?
Are you still talking about Jordan Love?
Yes. Don't you want a champion for somebody?
Coming up, Coming up, it's pretty obvious. Should the Ravens be Super Bowl favorites? And we get back to our favorite Tuesday morning segment. Yeah, but right after this on FS1. We are back. I just want to give a shout out to my main man, Little Wayne, watching right now. He's upset. He's upset that I said the Bears are going to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, he's a Packer fan.
But I got nothing but love for you, Little Wayne. I can tell you that.
Sorry,
All right,
Carter.
look at the Baltimore Ravens, obviously. They've already clinched the number 1 seed. And Odell Beckham had that great catch inside the 10. It's about all he did in that game in the blowout against the Miami Dolphins. But Odell Beckham talked about how this Ravens team in his career is very, very special. Let's hear what he had to say. OBJ, run
This is
your
a
tape.
good ass feeling, man. This is probably the best team. Not probably, this is the best team I've ever been on from the top to the bottom. We set ourselves up for success. You know what I mean? It's got to come through the bank. In these black and purple unis. Go through this defense. This offense is crazy, man. Everything's right in front of us, so let's go ahead. Keep preparing. Y'all enjoy this moment. You know what I mean? It don't come by every now and then.
I like the guy who's topless next to him. I was waiting for him to do the boob thing that muscular guys do.
right here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, really? Woo! No.
Oh, you sexy beast.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Really?
I never had pecs big enough to make him dance like that.
me neither.
But I appreciate you being
Bands
here.
will make him dance.
Look, first thing. All right, it's a family show, everybody, but mainly for adults. Now, here's the deal. First off, I think let's all just remind Odell Beckham that he was on a team that won a Super Bowl.
With 12 and 5.
So, by rule, I kind of feel like that's the best team
He said
you're
probably.
on.
He said probably.
But listen, there's no arguing with the fact that they're steamrolling dudes right now. And I think the point should be made they're doing it because their quarterback is playing at an otherworldly level right now, better than any other quarterback in football. And it should not get lost on anybody that they lost 2 starting running backs. They lost their starting tight end. Odell missed 4 games, with the ankle injury earlier this year. And the one constant is the MVP of the league, Lamar Jackson. And my gut is, on the offensive side, that's what OBJ's talking about.
100%. We also, but I love from this answer, you tell he's matured. Like at one point he was a Brown and he played in this division, so he knows how hard this division is. Now obviously he went on to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. But what I like about what he said also in the big scheme of things, he's finally played with a family, right? When you play with a bunch of men who are family, you consider your brother, who's going to go to war with you, you come into the building, they're committed to the win. That's what he's talking about. From the front office down, when everybody's focusing on winning on Sunday, that's a special feeling.
I also think, to be fair, it's part of him maturing, too.
Yes.
He was a different dude in New York when he first came into the league. Obviously, there are problems, him and his dad, and, Baker Mayfield and the Browns organization. Let's be fair. A lot of people have had problems with the Browns organization. He gets the Super Bowl trophy, so that's the feather in the cap. And then Baltimore did something which was very interesting. Baltimore, don't forget, gave him $15 million, 13 of it guaranteed this year. Nobody else was going to come close to
So
that.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you said that he only had that one big catch, didn't do much else, because that is his role right now. You saw it with the Rams. Get into the playoff games, make one big play. You can't rely on him. They're not going to give him 12 targets, but make one or two big plays, and because there'll be so much attraction to Flowers that
Flowers
his
is their
role.
best receiver.
And every penny of that contract will be worth it if he makes one big play per game in a playoff run.
But to lean on the maturing aspect of it, when you got a young rookie like Zay Flowers, and you have an OBJ in the building who's now mature, who's been through it all through his career, now Zay Flowers has somebody in the room. Because I can't tell you, and Greg sat here and said it, the problem with the NFL right now, too many old guys are no longer in the locker room. It's the young leading the young. So when you got an old guy who's a rock star at his prime, and now a veteran guy who can make plays but allows a young fellow to eat, it goes a long way, man.
So I guess here's the question, and the producers are crazy. They don't realize I'm going to get to it in but so they want me to do it now. No problem, all good. I'm just a paid voice. That's all I am at this point. Like sheep, we just followed dumb producers right into the abyss. No offense, Alex, you're a great guy. It's more Zach I'm talking about. That being said,
I can't hold it together.
just keeping it real. It says there on the bottom of everyone's screen, should the Ravens be Super Bowl favorites?
Yes.
They destroyed the Dolphins. They destroyed San Francisco. They're beating everybody down.
Number one seed.
But, which is why I'll cross it off the but coming up, they are not the Super Bowl favorites right now. San Francisco is. And I'm not saying, again, this is Las Vegas. I'm not saying that this means anything, but according to Las Vegas, despite getting destroyed by the Baltimore Ravens 2 weeks ago in San Francisco, by the way, the San Francisco 49ers are the clear-cut favorites to win the Super Bowl.
So clearly they didn't watch the game, right? No. Clearly they didn't see Lamar Jackson play some of his best football.
Well, to me, I think I'm trying to give you a reason why. The reason
What's
why.
What's the why, Craig?
I'm going to help you
We
out.
watched 2 weeks of this team beat the hell out of the best offenses in football.
It's why I'm here. I'm going to help you out. What Vegas is saying is that the road to the Super Bowl is easier for San Francisco than it is for Baltimore, meaning that Vegas doesn't value the Eagles anymore, and for good reason.
Right.
They don't think the Cowboys have a prayer against San Francisco, and for good reason.
Right.
And who else is going to? On the AFC side, what Vegas is telling you is that the Bills are a problem.
You're going to have to beat
Maybe
Allen.
the Dolphins
You're going to have to beat
rematch.
Mahomes. You got to beat him.
Mahomes is there.
Okay.
So I think it's more about the road to the Super Bowl than actually the head-to-head matchup, because you cannot argue if you have a San Francisco-Baltimore Super Bowl that the Ravens should be favored.
Oh,
They should be favored. They're going to win.
We got to mention Flacco.
Oh, how about Joe Flacco? Oh, Slippy Joe. Yeah.
The Browns went into Baltimore and dropped the 30-burger on that Ravens defense before Flacco got there.
Right.
And now they're playing better offensive football.
Right.
But to answer your question as to why, we all agree it's silly. The Ravens are obviously, the pick to win the Super Bowl. But according to Vegas, they're not. It's the road to get there that's got Vegas a little perplexed.
Yeah, but one thing that we've talked about time and time on the show is, what do the Ravens do well? Their brand of football travels. So no matter where they play, they're going to punch you in the mouth, turn out the lights, and eat your donuts. That's the type of team
And I'll say this about San Francisco. It's a good thing for them that they're at home, because the one question mark about Brock Purdy that Plax always talks about is cold weather outside.
Yeah.
That he doesn't trust in cold weather outside. All right, time now for a little segment that just got shorter called... That's a reality. Called Yeah! But... So let's start off with this one. Yeah! The Philadelphia Eagles are in the playoffs, and they've got some of the best offensive weapons in the sport. But they lost 4 out of their last 5.
Right.
Players hate the coaches, and they're a total dysfunctional mess.
Yeah, and it starts with this defense. This defense can't stop a cold. So at the end of the day, no matter how much the the Eagles scored 31 points at home, this defense couldn't get off the field against Kyler Murray and the 26th ranked offense.
Yeah, there's no lead safe for Philadelphia when that defense takes the field.
Yeah, I mean, they made James Conner look like Walter Payton.
Yeah.
Like, it was wild.
He's the Terminator, right? James Conner, I have that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, checking that. All right. All right.
No Terminator?
What happened?
Do the kids know Terminator?
No. And that's just because it's bad parenting out there.
They'll remake it with The Rock.
Yeah! The Detroit Lions won the division. And everybody loves Dan Campbell. But they're going to face the Rams and Matthew Stafford in the first round of the playoffs, meaning they might not have the quarterback edge, and dare I say this, they might not have the coaching edge.
Whoa.
I thought you were going to say this is going to be the wag ball. It's not the wag ball?
It is the wag ball.
Oh,
That's
okay.
more for my own personal gratification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I believe in the Lions. I believe in Dan Campbell. He said, listen, they got enough fuel to understand that they can't waste plays. They got to be efficient. Jared Goff has to stop turning over the football, bottom line.
And by the way, it's great because not only do you have the hot fiance of Jared Goff and the hot wife of Sean McVay.
Yes,
we have pictures if you want to see them. If not, I'll just show you my phone later on. It's wallpaper right now for me. But you also get Jared Goff against the team that gave up on him. The Detroit Lions with Matt Stafford. The storylines of that game would be great for the wild card round.
Just the idea that there is a playoff game in Detroit is enough narrative just to eat on. But then you bring in Matt Stafford in the scenario, and if the Lions are really going to make a run, they're going to have to go through good teams. So I don't mind this. I want this.
Yeah, their defense is playing a lot better. But this is also a battle of great minds. Because Dan Campbell, we know he has a bunch of trick plays, and Sean McVay has pumped life into this team again. So this is going to be an offensive shootout.
We got one more for you. Yeah! The Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. And Dak Prescott's playing pretty good football. But you cannot. But there you go.
Yeah.
You cannot trust that Cowboy defense late in games. They blew it against the Lions. They blew it against the Dolphins. Cannot trust that defense.
And you can't say it's lack of effort because they moved Michael Parsons off the ball, let him play the linebacker role, and he was efficient, but it wasn't enough. They got to get off the field. They got to find a way to get stopped. They were way too passive in the last drive of this game, which cost them, almost cost them.
Can we figure out a way, is it possible, that the Dallas Cowboys lose in the first round of the playoffs to, let's just say,
The Packers.
Little Wayne's Green Bay Packers?
Oh, man.
All right.
Could you imagine?
So I see what you did here. You said they were going to lose to the Bears. Little Wayne texted you, and now they're beating the Cowboys.
Yeah, let me just say, Little Wayne, there's a chance Green Bay plays Dallas.
Oh, man.
First round.
That's true.
First round. Oh, the playoffs.
I would love it.
Probably not. Anyway, coming up, we got your mid-show headlines. Is there legitimate concern in South Beach with the Miami Dolphins, the injured Waddle, the embarrassing performance this past week against the Ravens? What's going on in Miami? We'll get into that and much more right after this.
Welcome back to the Carton Show. Look at this last night, Michigan-Alabama. Blake breaks into the end zone in overtime, and then Alabama has a chance to match. And it didn't work.
What was that?
So, Mr. Carton, how do you feel about Nick Saban's play call on that?
The same way I feel about every Jet game on Sunday and our dumb play calling. It's amazing to me that you have a chance to go to a national championship game, and the kid's an all-world talent, right? Milroe, who was under duress the entire game. But this is it. This is your season, right? And the play call, after a timeout, plenty of time to talk about it, the best play call you got with the most athletic guy on the field is to run the ball right up the middle. Now, it wasn't a great snap. Maybe there is a little hole on the left side where the pulling guard goes.
Yeah.
But you gotta have a better play. Like, how about a run pass option? How about get the fast guy out on the corner, let him make a decision, and use his God-given athletic talent? And if I'm a Bama fan, and look, I've been blessed if I'm a Bama fan with a lot of wins. But for the championship appearance to come down to that fourth down play, if your name was not Nick Saban, you'd be fired today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hate.
And I love it.
Yeah, I don't mind them putting the ball in their best playmakers' hands, but at the end of the day, Bama was in trouble the whole day.
But not up the middle.
Yeah.
The kid's a great athlete.
So
Let him
putting the
be.
best
But
players
he had 2 or 3 runs like that during the game where he broke out. Like, even on the last
poppycock.
drive, he stirred for at least 15 yards. So,
dude, I love it. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I love Jim Harbaugh. I love the fact that Michigan won that game. And I love the fact that Nick Saban has to now answer to reporters of why the best play call he had in his entire arsenal was running the ball right up the middle.
Yeah.
Stupid.
And I love it. Overtime, Michigan gets the ball. 2 runs, we're in the end zone. 2 runs right in the end zone. Didn't even drop back and pass. And they always say, like, oh, get your best player the ball. Get him the ball, but get him some space. Get him doing what he's good at, RPOs.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
And I give Michigan a lot of credit. They've not had to come
they
from
were on
behind
a
a lot.
3-yard line, too, though.
But I'm
right?
saying, like, let me flip the script real quick. First, I give Michigan credit. We talk about teams playing from ahead, very easy to play. Michigan had to make plays in the fourth quarter. They were trailing. So I give them a lot of credit for that, J.J. McCarthy. Blake Corum's a man.
Yeah.
Right? Blake Corum's an NFL running back, obviously. And they gave the ball to their best player, and he did what he did. On the flip side of that, I cannot believe that the best play you have, I'll say it again, is running your quarterback right up the gut. It's just stupid.
What about watching that game made you feel like our line is going to get us there?
Yeah. Well, because it's Alabama, right? And I'm just going off.
You watched the game.
I watched the game, and I'm looking at that big offensive line. They had little struggles at center. When they were able to run the ball, they ran the ball. The fact in the first half they went away from the run and I hurt them. I was more disappointed that Alabama needed more blockers. They need more help on protection than I thought they were going to dominate up front.
I will tell you this: if you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, enjoy next Monday's game against Washington. It's the last game Jim Harbaugh ever coaches for you. Because if I'm Jim Harbaugh and I can bring you your first championship since what? 1991, I think. So first championship in damn near 35 years. I'm going right to the NFL. I'm not dealing with guys going to the portal. I'm not dealing with 19-year-old knuckleheads anymore. I'm going to get a 5-year, $75 million deal. He hired Tom Brady's agent, Don Yee, who's a really good NFL agent. He did that for a reason. Maybe it's a negotiating ploy with Michigan. But if I'm Jim Harbaugh, and I can end my coaching career with a championship, and you know the NFL is going to beckon. They did last year. He almost went to Minnesota last year. He'll have his pick of the litter if he wants to be an NFL coach. And I would say this: if I'm the Los Angeles Chargers and I have a chance to get Jim Harbaugh and have him tutor Justin Herbert, I would give him the Brinks truck to do it. And the Chargers would become the new AFC West darlings. Sorry, Kansas City.
I agree with you, and I also feel like from the Michigan side of it, I think you're fine with that. If you're a fan, if you're an alum, you went to the playoffs a few times, you get a championship, you had a great run, I understand you can move on. I feel like there's no hard feelings if that happens.
And let me say this, I'm being told I got it wrong. I own it. I thought it was 91. They have not won a title since 97.
Correct.
So 26 years since Maize and Blue won at Washington. Was that Brock Heward? The Washington team that won it back in 91? I'm just making it up. Okay. I have no idea. It's Joe Theismann, they're telling me. Who knows? That's Zach again. He went to Notre Dame. You don't even know that. He's having a tough day, that guy.
Moving on to
Keep swinging, Zach.
Moving on to our second headline. After Saturday night's quote-unquote win against the Lions, the Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy likes the spot that the Cowboys are in. Here is Mike McCarthy on the Cowboys moving forward.
I think clearly where we are today, we put ourselves in position to win the division and, knowing the number 2 seed. So that's a good place to be.
If they put themselves in position to win the division, are they lucky or good?
First off, Mark Brunell was the Washington quarterback in 91. Good job, Ethan, who knows what he's doing. I just had to fix that real quick. Sometimes we do know what we're talking about. Look, the refs gave them the win against Detroit. Everybody knows that. But good for them. Well, you don't apologize for the fact that the refs screwed up in your favor. Like, if you go to an ATM machine and you take $100 out and it spits out $1.40, you don't tell anybody. You just count your lucky blessings and spend the $40 as quickly as you can 100%. So they can't take it away from you. And that's kind of like what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. They got the gift from the refs. Don't apologize for it. Spend it. Now they're in a great spot. But now, with the 2 seed, assuming they beat Washington, we all know they will. They're a 2-touchdown favorite, and Washington sucks, right? And it's the last game Ron Rivera's ever going to coach in the NFL, so bye-bye to him. Now, though, when you're the 2 seed and you get a home playoff game, which right now would be against the Green Bay Packers, the pressure changes. It's one thing to go on the road and, let's say, play Tampa, which they would have, what the Eagles are going to have to do now, and win a road game like they did last year, same place in Tampa. There's different pressure. Now that you have a division title, which they will after the weekend, and you get a home playoff game, you've won 15 consecutive home games. Other than this past one against Detroit, average margin of victory is 3 touchdowns in those games. Now you're expected to win. Now you have to win. And I want to see Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy, who in the playoffs let's be honest about it, as good a coach as he is, has had some playoff blunders on his resume. I want to see the Dallas Cowboys, and I expect that they'll play well, but I want to see them at home in a playoff game against a team that's got nothing to lose. Yeah. And see how they handle that pressure.
Yeah, for me, just to answer the question, I'm going to call the Cowboys lucky, right? Because we talked about the refs. The refs don't blow that call. They're on a 3-game losing streak, right?
That's
and
right.
You talk about one, we mentioned in nauseam how this defense.
And they're the 5 seed.
Right, and they're the 5 seed. We talked in nauseam how the defense can't get off the field on the last drive. But what's shocking to me, and we showed the play just now, like if Dak Prescott gets that safety, they lose that game. If the linebacker from Detroit blitzed.
Number 55.
Whatever. But it ended up in a 92-yard touchdown. Overall, man, the Cowboys, there's part of them that you want to believe because Dak plays well and his defense does enough. But overall, do you really think they can win in the playoffs? Can they make a run? I don't think they can.
But my concern is not so much their offense. Although, if I'm a Cowboy fan, I am concerned that I've become one-dimensional. The last couple weeks, it's CeeDee Lamb or nothing. Yeah. Against Miami, CeeDee Lamb or nothing. Obviously, against the Lions, CeeDee Lamb at 200 yards.
Right.
Nobody else did anything, right? So I'm concerned about that. But if I had to kind of rate my concern, first off, they're good and they're lucky. And lucky usually follows good, to be fair to every team in the NFL or in sports in general. My bigger concern is not the one-dimensional offense for Dallas. It's now I can't trust their defense. Yeah. Because we've said it a million times. The Miami game, the offense gave them the lead with 4 minutes to go. The defense couldn't get off the field. The Detroit game, the offense gave them the lead. They couldn't get off the field with 3 minutes to go. So my concern now is if they're in a one-score game, and I don't care who the opponent is, and Dan Quinn goes to that stupid prevent zone defense,
it was too much.
The Dallas Cowboys are going to give up a win because they're stupid. Not because they're not good, they're just dumb.
There's a couple things I want to say. Number one, lucky. We always talk about the refs and that. The Eagles lost to the Cardinals. That's why they're in this position. So Mike McCarthy saying we put ourselves in this position.
Right.
Not really. And the second thing I want to say is I'm also concerned about the offense. Let's not forget, they're past the 2-minute warning. They have the football and the lead. What do? Throw the ball out of bounds.
Right.
Dude,
they should have been running the football.
Run the football. Anyone who's played Madden, like 10-year-olds that play Madden, know exactly what to do in that position.
And that's what
Mike McCarthy does it.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's a Mike McCarthy decision in a big game.
But that's been his bugaboo
that they got lucky with,
his career.
Instead of taking 40 more seconds off the clock and forcing Detroit to call their last time out, he gave them a gift. And that's what I'm talking about. If you're in a game at home now, as a division champion, and now all the pressure's on you. You're going to be a 10-point favorite or a 7-point favorite, whatever it is against the Green Bay Packers. Do you trust Mike McCarthy not to have a brain fart moment like he did?
No. Answer no.
Well, there you go. There you go. So you guys would lean a little more towards lucky than good. But like I said, lucky follows good all the time.
Yeah, but we talk about the brand of football that they were playing earlier in the year. Like Dak was peppering the ball around. They was actually getting sacks. Mike McCarthy, we were talking about this Texas toast West Coast defense. Right? They were doing a hell of a offense, They were doing a hell of a job. And as the last 3 weeks, they've regressed. So if you're going into the playoffs, you got to now, are the Cowboys winning and looking thriving in the playoffs, or are they limping into the playoffs? I can't call it.
And I'll tell you another guy you cannot ignore on that team. He had 4 catches against the Detroit Lions for 30 yards, and that's Ferguson. Who's become like a legitimate threat in that offense. But they became so one-dimensional with CeeDee Lamb, and I get it. CeeDee Lamb's the best player on the field. And he had 250 yards. So I'm not saying don't throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, but in the playoffs, you need a second option. You need a third option. It can't be, oh, man, CeeDee Lamb looks like he's covered. I'm screwed. Because that's kind of what their offense is.
That wasn't the issue a couple weeks ago, right? Like Brandon Cooks was getting off. Ferguson was good. Turpin was getting off. Like they've had guys go off. So why now do we regress to one option?
Listen, I'm with you on that. Even the Eagles found a third option. His name was Julio Jones.
Hey, 2 touchdowns.
Julio!
Moving on to our final headline, and that involves one of the teams that the Cowboys lost to recently, the Miami Dolphins. And we just watched them get absolutely dominated in Baltimore by Baltimore. But Tua Tagovailoa, he's trying to keep it positive. Here's the quarterback.
I think if you have the perspective of things could be worse, we could not have clinched the playoff berth. We could not have been playing in a game like this. That mattered for positioning with the seeding. So if you think of it like that, I mean, we're right where we need to be.
He basically said we're not the Jets. You know what I mean? That's what I heard.
Yeah.
He's just like, it could be worse.
Thanks, appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I need a reminder that the Dolphins are not the Jets. I can't. You may have seen me walking back on set here because my eyes are shot. I wanted to make sure I was reading that right. The game's in Miami.
Yep.
And the Bills are favored. What does that tell you about the Miami Dolphins right now? That a team that 3-4 weeks ago had the inside track for the number 1 seed, and the buildup was obviously last week's game against Baltimore, and they pooped the bed on that one. But the fact that they're a home underdog against the Buffalo Bills, and if the Bills lose the game, there's a chance that they don't even make the playoffs. Yeah. Now, they could still get in, but it's a little convoluted. But the fact is, Miami's sitting there +3 at home, and Tua said, it could be worse. So we've come up with things that are worse.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We have a small little list here to back up Tua's claim that it could be worse.
Okay.
Because I love that positive thinking. Life sucks, but man, it could be worse.
Right. Yeah.
So the first thing that we came up with here, this was again Zach's idea.
Okay.
Zach said, well, what could be worse than being the Dolphins right now? Penile leprosy.
Oh.
Could be worse. That would be.
That's
probably worse.
That's just penile leprosy.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
That's probably worse.
Is that a
probably
thing?
worse than being on the Dolphins.
It's like you're just walking around like, oh my God, it fell off again.
Right.
Like,
Probably.
Didn't
Can we
see that.
attach that as a Velcro? How's this work?
Didn't quite see that coming, but
That was
That's
a bad day.
It's hard to argue with. That's worse than being a professional football player for the Dolphins.
The second thing that could be worse than where? That's right, we wrote it on the screen, didn't we? No one knows if we spelled leprosy right.
Big day for Zach.
We got penile right. All right. The second thing that could be worse than being the Dolphins right now would be the gal that's married to the ref in the Lions-Cowboys game.
Oh.
Yeah, she's filing for divorce probably right about now.
Yeah.
The third thing that could be worse than being the Dolphins right now would be living in Cincinnati. And rooting for Cincinnati.
Oh, man. They had a hell of a year.
You poor Bengals fans thought you were going into Kansas City last week and beating Mahomes and the Chiefs to keep your playoff hopes alive. You suck.
Yeah.
And the last thing, of course, that could be worse than being Tua and the Dolphins right now.
You could be a Jets fan.
You could be a Jets fan.
I'm going penile leprosy is the worst. Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
Oh, Craig.
Craigie.
Is that me?
Yes, Craigie.
That guy does not have penile leprosy.
No, he doesn't.
So he's got the other guy beat. So there you go. Look at me deep in thought.
Right.
And I'm like,
should I burn this jersey or not?
I'm not sure why I'm here right now.
Uber now?
Set this jersey on fire while I'm sitting in the stands.
That guy right there came up with the cure for a certain kind of leprosy.
Oh, yeah.
You may not have known that. That's a fact. That happened.
The fact that you could possibly pick it up off the ground is horrible.
Coming up, more problems. We'll have Dr. Schwentz coming in here next to discuss
It's an expert.
Leprosy.
He's an expert. He's an expert.
And some football, too.
Right.
How about A.J. Brown and problems in Philadelphia? A.J. Brown not talking to the media. A.J. Brown not talking to the fans. A.J. Brown not talking to anybody. But it turns out he's not mad at the fans. He's not upset with the coverage of the Eagles. He's pissed off at Nick Sirianni and, of course, the Eagles coaching staff, and rightfully so. He went from a guy that was on pace for a potential 2,000-yard season and maybe 15-plus touchdowns to all of a sudden, what's wrong with that Eagles offense, and how come I'm not getting the rock?
Yeah, it's like having a Porsche and just keep him in the garage, right? Like, you got to let that thing run, you got to let it rip. And then what's crazy about A.J. Brown right now, he has a right to be upset, right? Because the offense should go through him. At one point, we were talking about him being an outsider for MVP along with Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey. And he's not even in that conversation no more because of the last couple of weeks. Look at what CeeDee Lamb, like we just talked about CeeDee Lamb being too much of a factor for that guy. You don't think A.J. Brown wants those problems?
Well, if I'm A.J. Brown, I'm looking at the other receivers who are putting up gaudy numbers.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, lately, of course, CeeDee Lamb. Even Amari Cooper in Cleveland, a 200-yard day. And I'm sitting here. I'm open every time I run a route. And I got my offensive coordinator calling quarterback sweeps against an aggressive defense on 3rd and 20.
Yeah.
And I'm wide open, and I'm ticked off. Now, there's a difference, though. I'll give A.J. Brown credit for this because he has shown a number of times in the last year plus where he has no problem bitching and moaning on the sideline. He has no problem creating a scene and making it all about me. At least he's taking a different tack. Instead of being a crybaby and whining about it, he's doing it quietly. I'm not talking to nobody, which is kind of the same thing that a petulant child would do. But you have a choice. You can bitch and moan, and you can create a furor about it, or you can just say, I have nothing to say to anybody.
One thing I love that he did, though, because he has the media scrum around him. He's like, I'm not talking. But it's not you guys that I'm upset with. It's not you guys I'm upset with. It's not my teammates I'm upset with. And then the Philadelphia Inquirer comes out with a report that people are saying that he's upset with the coaches. Let's not forget, Sirianni and Devontae Smith got into it recently. 2 weeks ago. You got A.J. Brown, who's upset with the coaching. You got a new defensive coordinator. It's not just the losses and losing to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
It just sounds like chaos in this locker room.
Well, we're also learning about Nick Sirianni and his ultimate coaching resume, right? And because year one was kind of a lost year, but you got a rookie quarterback, so you kind of get some grace, right? Year two is this ridiculous year. You make a run to a Super Bowl, and your quarterback's playing like, he's a legitimate MVP, and you reward him with a $200 million bizag, right? But all of a sudden, things aren't going your way.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got a lot of chinks in the armor, and people are pointing it out, and you do nothing about it. And the one move you make sends the team backwards, not forwards, and that is, of course, demoting your defensive coordinator, promoting Matt Patricia, and the numbers have gotten worse, not better. This Eagle defense is the worst statistical defense in regards to points allowed since Week 8. 7 of their last 10 games, they've given up 30 points, and they're not playing the Ravens every single week or the Niners every single week. So you've got a real problem. You've got an offense that's stalling right now and not dominating. For whatever the reason is, you refuse to give DeAndre Swift the ball 15 times a game, which is just the obvious no-brainer. And all they have to do, if I'm them, is look what's happening in Buffalo. I think you made this point yesterday, Jacoby, and it's a good one. Once Ken Dorsey got fired and someone recognized, hey, wait a minute, we've got a stud at running back. Why don't we use him and take some of the pressure off Josh Allen having to make the Superman play on 3rd and whatever? Why the Eagles have not done that yet? Which brings to mind this question for you, all right? Let's say at some point the Eagles coaching staff goes into the lab and they come out of that lab in the next week or so and they realize, you know what? We're going to give DeAndre Swift 15 carries a game. We're going to make sure A.J. Brown is targeted on every offensive possession. And we're going to get back to what's just obvious and smart football. At that point, do they become dangerous again?
Yeah. 100%.
Do they become a team that could make a run?
Yeah, but our bottom line is everything you said makes sense because, one, we watched a good portion this season. Who was injured the most? Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah.
This is a time where you protect Jalen Hurts because you know you can't win a playoff game without him. So if that's the case, to your point, give DeAndre Swift the more touches. A.J. Brown, get open, get him the ball. But overall, man, it still comes down to this defense.
So then let me stop you
there.
there. Let me stop you right there. They play the New York Giants here in New Jersey on Sunday, right?
And
I know they're favored by 5.5. I don't really even care about the spread. The Giants gave them all the hell they wanted 2 weeks ago. Right. The Giants aren't playing for a damn thing but draft status. That's all they're playing for. And I think Tyrod Taylor will get the start. He had that really good second half against the Eagles 2 weeks ago. Do the Eagles have to win this game?
Technically, no.
Doesn't matter.
Technically, no. They don't.
And I think they do. And I think you have to play Jalen Hurts for more than a half. I think
the whole game?
I'm not saying the whole game, but I think you have to use this game as the springboard to what you hope is a playoff run. I don't think the Eagles have the luxury of saying, all right, Marcus Mariota is starting for Jalen Hurts, and we're not putting DeAndre Swift in the game. Gainwell gets all the carries, and A.J., you're out, et cetera, et cetera. I think the Eagles need to use, whether it's a quarter, whether it's a half, whatever it is, they got to figure out how to get back on track on both sides of the ball. Now, defensively, it shouldn't be that hard. The Giants' offense sucks, right? But I need to see if I'm an Eagle fan, and God knows I'm not. But That, I mean, well, and I don't get it done.
Yeah.
My mind goes in really bad ways. It's a bad thing. I apologize. Whoa, defense. They need to use, I think, a couple possessions in this game to kind of get the stank off.
But what's the stink outside of the defense?
The stank is their offense isn't right. Defensively,
hate each other.
you can run all day against them. I know what the Giants are going to do. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor on quarterback keeps, run pass options. It's going to be Saquon Barkley, and there's going to be 5 or 6 deep balls to Slayton. Let's see how good your secondary is. And by the way, the Giants are going to score points that way. So if I'm Philly, do I go into that first round of the playoffs on the road, whomever I'm playing against, right? And do a Tampa, I guess it'll
Tampa,
be.
most likely.
Right. Do I go in there with the stank on me? Or do I go in there at least smelling fresh? Now, remember the great story about the rock band Metallica, Motley Crue.
Okay.
Motley Crue used to go home with the stank on them, and it caused a lot of strife at home.
Yes.
So they decided, we got to get the stank off of us. So I got to be careful how I say this story. They found a little out-of-the-way burrito stand in San Diego. So when they were going out and getting stanked up, they would then stop at the burrito store and make sure their entire body smelled like burritos.
Oh.
Therefore, no stank.
Okay.
Got it?
So just beef.
Yes.
Okay.
The Eagles need to find a burrito store in South Philly and get some of that stank off of them.
Yeah, but part of the stink is that this locker room was splitting right in half, right? Because right now they can't control, they can't figure out what's going on with the defense. They hate Nick Sirianni, and his offense is pressing. The Eagles scored 31 points at home. Like I got to remind, that wins any football game in this league.
Right.
And so even with the run game not being where it needs to be, you still have an option, DeAndre Swift. Use him. Bottom line.
So I'm glad we bring this up because Craig, you said earlier that imagine the coaches get together, have an all hands meeting, and they're gonna get in the lab and draw up some plays. They don't need to have a meeting. All they need to do is get in the bus and drive out of their facility because there's 2 Philly guys with a huge sign that just says "Run the ball."
Yeah.
It's like that's it. It's 3 syllables.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a meeting about it. And like that to me is really what's happening. We all know it here. What are they missing?
What they're missing is commitment, right? When you don't commit in the first half of games, you can't expect it to be effective in the second half. When you leave him, and by the way, go back to that game last week when DeAndre Swift had the ball in the late quarters. He was money good.
He was great.
He was everything. They look like a different team, and so I can understand why A.J. Brown's frustrated. But overall, Jalen Hurts should be frustrated too, because at the end of the day, it all falls on his shoulders. No matter what happens, good, the bad, or the ugly.
Tell you what, you learn a lot about a coach and a coaching staff when there's some strife, and it's internal. It's inside the building, and that's real right now in Philadelphia. The fan base will turn on you like a New York fan base would, quicker than anything. And it doesn't look like Nick Sirianni is handling it all that well.
Can't even have the answers. And every time you see his face, I think about that stupid comment. Remember you say you plant the seeds and they grow into a big flower. I mean, you had that
silly metaphor.
That whole stupid thing. Like the flowers are dying.
By the way, do you guys have the Matt Patricia stat up there again? How their defense has changed?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, the one big thing Nick Sirianni did was he demoted his defensive coordinator. They of course promoted Matt Patricia, who's the worst offensive coordinator in the history of football. And then, of course, was one of the worst head coaches in the history of football. And they're like, yeah, but he's got sharp pencils. So maybe he's the guy. And I know it's a very short amount of a resume.
Sample size.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for, sample size. But it ain't good. No. They're giving him more points a game. They're giving him more rushing yards a game, a lot more, like 50 yards more. They're not sacking the quarterback. They're not doing anything as well with Matt Patricia. Now, to be fair, Matt Patricia got promoted, and other than Arizona, they did have a tough game at least, right? But
Giants.
They gave up 35 points
35
at
points.
home to the Arizona Cardinals, who scored, I think, on every drive but one in the second half.
They scored 29 points in the second half. But by the way, they did it on the ground. Like, that's the thing. This wasn't Kyler Murray just sitting back and being the next thing like Marino. This was James Conner and Michael Carter with Kyler Murray that beat the hell out of his defense. That was, by early in the season, they were top 5.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're here at one more game left in the season, there's serious questions about this defense, is concerning.
And by the way, if that's a problem for Philly, and it was, just use those 2 guys, Kyler Murray, an agile, scrambling quarterback, and Michael Carter, who's got like a resurgence in his career,
James Conner.
a former Jet running back, and James Conner, same deal. Imagine what's going to happen this week if the Eagles don't fix it to Tyrod Taylor, who's good with his feet, and Saquon Barkley, who's better than both guys in Arizona. This could be a long afternoon.
Yeah, but what we saw out of the last time they played was they just weren't taking care of the football. Like, they just looked sloppy.
Like, the more panic and upset in Philadelphia, the better I feel about myself. Like, that's where we're at right
But
now.
you must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, screw you, Philly. I started a campaign many years ago called Foo Philly, and it's spelled with the Philly P, P-H-U, Philly, you know what it stands for. And I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back.
You got
Foo
t-shirts?
Philly. Oh, yeah, shirts,
T-shirts?
hats, you know, the fingers, the whole thing. Yeah, I'm all good with it. I hope the Giants put a 30-burger on Philly, and Philly's trying to figure out where they're going in the second week of the playoffs for vacation purposes. Yeah, that'll be great.
Start calling personal fouls on each other on the sideline.
It's going to be awesome.
Like, this team has to go on the road and
I
win.
could see if the Giants embarrass them. No joke. I could see a fist fight on the Eagles
That's what I'm saying.
100%
But
right.
you got call out between who, though?
But remember this, and Dom ain't there to stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, Dom! That's what they're missing.
Dom.
That's right.
Do we have a full screen for pre-Dom and post-Dom?
Yeah, we should have a post and pre-Dom.
Yes, that's what we've.
Ever
we're talking
since,
about
by
the
the way,
defensive
ever
coordinator
since
change.
Dom, their security guy, who started that fight a month ago,
Niners, yeah.
they gave up the last-second drive to Drew Lock. They almost lost to the Giants.
Yep.
And they embarrassed themselves against the Arizona Cardinals. Dom's the good luck charm.
Dom is what holds this team together.
Right.
Great. Yeah, by the way, maybe make him defensive coordinator.
He's already had his security.
Oh, make him head coach, spirit.
In any event, there's much more to do, including Baltimore Ravens are now on the clock, and you've got the MVP Lamar Jackson. Is he the best player in the league? Is he the most exciting player in the league? And can anybody beat that guy and the Baltimore Ravens? And if so, whom next? FS1. That's Jacoby. That guy right there is Willie Cullen. Good to have you here on the Carton Show. By the way, as we get ready for Week 18 in the NFL, there's a bunch of like really creative incentives that guys can earn based on catches and yards and percentage of snaps and all that crap. But the one that I love the most is Baker Mayfield's.
Yeah, man.
When Tampa Bay beats Carolina this weekend, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the NFC South, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are having a home playoff game against whomever it is. It looks like it might be the Eagles, right? Baker Mayfield gets a $2 million check for winning the division and getting Tampa into the postseason. How about that?
I love that for Baker, man. He's been through it all. The fact that he found a new home in Tampa with Todd Bowles and Mike Evans, man, good for him. And I said it time after time, the biggest thing Baker did was turn off the social media, stop the commercials, and learn how to play quarterback again, and he's done a decent job.
And the other quarterback incentive that stuck out to me just very quickly is your man, Joe Flacco.
Oh, Flacco!
Obviously, Flacco was not in a position to make any contractual demands. He was sitting at home with his kids, obviously, when Cleveland comes calling. So the way they incentivified his contract, and there's a lot to it, I'll just give you the basis for it, okay? Every win in a game he starts, $75,000 as a bonus. Now, he's also got other incentives he can make, a lot more than that. But every win, $75K.
Yeah, not like a good cup of Joe.
Let me ask you a question. Do they actually give you a check, or do most guys just do direct deposit and see it in their bank account on a statement?
Different folks, different strokes.
Were you a check guy or a direct deposit?
No, I didn't trust myself with that money in my hand. So I send it.
Which is the financial
Send
guy?
it right to the guy.
You may know that I'm an interpreter. I minored in interpretation at Syracuse. What Willie just said was, your words were, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
What Willie meant to say was, my wife said the money goes directly into the account.
Yes.
You don't get no check.
Yeah, not when the house needs lights and water. Put that on Willie.
She's a very smart woman, your wife. I love her to death.
Very smart.
All right, from that to first to football with Jacoby. Let's go.
Let's start with the Detroit Lions coming off this play. Controversial loss we've discussed ad nauseum. However, Dan Campbell, he's turning the page. Here he is.
We're not going to feel sorry for ourselves and wallow in everything. We had plays to make. We didn't make them. And it's a tight game, a good opponent, playoff type atmosphere, and you got to make that one extra play that we didn't. And so we will use this as fuel. I got pure octane right now. I woke up, I'm ready.
Pure
bet he is.
octane.
I
right
love
now.
that. I love everything about him. I love the risk taking. I love the pure adrenaline, and I love it because it's real.
Yeah.
It's not manufactured. He's not trying to get over on anybody. This is who I am. If you like it, great. If you don't, great. I don't give a rat's ass. I'm ready to go. I'm surprised he even slept since that game on Saturday night. I also like the fact that in that press conference when he said, "Yo, we got to make a play." And to me, that's just, it's very tactfully done. To me, that's a Jared Goff. I know we got screwed by the refs, and then we got bailed out when we went for it from the 7, and Micah Parsons jumped off sides, but we had another chance.
Yeah.
We had a chance to do it again from about the 4-yard line. We need to convert. We need to be better, a.k.a. you need to make a better pass there. Now these games matter. I know the Minnesota game is a dry run for their playoff game, and they're not going to play all their guys, maybe at all, maybe for a half, whatever they decide to do. But he's telling Jared Goff, without saying his name, now this stuff matters. Now this stuff counts. It's great that we have our first division title in 30 years, but if we lose the game,
it means nothing.
No one's going to remember that we won the division title. They're going to remember, yep, Detroit Lions, you can't trust them. I don't care if they won a division. They got punked at home. And I think that's the message. The real question now is, we talked about that stank that's on them, having lost the game, and you don't want to kind of crawl into the playoffs, but the game against Minnesota doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
How much do you play your guys, recognizing injury risk, and at what point does he feel like, all right, we're good, everybody sit down?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Jared Goff being held accountable. So is his defense, right? Like, if they sent number 55, the linebacker, I'm missing his name, but they sent him on a blitz. Yeah, if he gets that safety, the Cowboys don't score, the Lions win that game. They're not even put in the position at the end of the game to lose it by by the refs. So when you talk about the Lions need to do, to understand is like, listen, you've been through a lot as a franchise. Dan Campbell himself has been through a lot as a coach. You have finally arrived. You have a division title, and you're hosting your first playoff game. You do not want to go home and potentially lose because you're not on your P's and Q's. Especially with Jared Goff throwing 2 interceptions in that game, that put him in a tough spot.
And the pressure reverts to them. Much like I talked earlier about Dallas being home now and not being on the road when there's a little less pressure. Now you've got to defend that 15-0 home win streak. You're the Detroit Lions. You're the team to beat.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to happen. The Rams are going to go in there, and the world's going to be in love with Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. And I wouldn't even be surprised if that's a pick'em game, or if the Rams are favored by a point when it finally kicks off. Would not shock me at all. But Detroit now has to have that us against the world mentality.
Yes.
On teams you've played for, you've had that. Let everybody be critical. Let everybody attack us. I'm a bad coach, too much of a risk taker. Jared Goff's not a legitimate franchise. Blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And now it's time. Get through the Minnesota game unscathed, stay healthy, and now defend your home turf. And I cannot wait for what will be the premier first-round matchup in the NFC, with all due respect, to the Cowboys playing, to the Eagles playing.
It's Lions-Rams.
It's Stafford coming home, and Jared Goff wanted to make a point to Sean McVay. I'm the guy.
Yeah, but Stafford's playing the best ball out of the two of them, right?
Yeah,
like, he's
true.
playing better than Goff. So you have to feel confident if you're Ram of going to possibly Detroit and going toe-to-toe with Goff.
Yeah, and I do worry about that Lions defense lately,
And you get this Sean McVay, mastermind, wonder kid genius, and then you get like Man Campbell. And you mentioned that you were surprised if he didn't sleep between the game and the press
I would not be surprised.
I'm surprised that he sleeps at all, because his octane comment reminded me of something he's previously said. Let's listen to Dan Campbell's sort of morning routine here.
Normally what I do is I'll get 2 venti. I go to, Starbucks, I get 2 venti of the pipe with 2 shots in them. So black eye in both. That's what I come in with.
That's an absolute insane
2 shots of
amount
espresso,
caffeine.
I assume?
In each one. Two shots of espresso, each in a venti. I'm surprised he ever sleeps. I'm worried about his
I'll be honest, I don't speak Starbucks, but it sounds like a lot of caffeine.
It's a lot of caffeine.
It's
a
about
lot.
this big.
That's
It's
2 huge things.
I don't know.
With 4 shots of espresso.
I've always had a problem with Starbucks. Just call it large, medium,
Thank you.
small. It ain't
Thank
that
you.
difficult. We don't need Latin phrases
Thank
to
you.
order a cup of Joe.
Thank you.
That being said, I mean, I love Dan Campbell.
I love Dan.
And ultimately,
He's a man.
You can talk all that smack. You can talk about kneecaps like in his press conference, and you could be full of octane and extra shots of espresso and Latin stuff that I don't understand.
Just means biggest.
But if you
Grande.
Then just say biggest. all
That's
right?
medium. Grande is a medium.
That's actually medium.
Grande is a medium.
Just Gringo, give me the biggest cup you have.
Yes, yes.
Barbara, or whatever your name is.
Barbara would work
Like
the
to
window.
me, it don't matter if you lose. Then you just become a clown, right?
Yeah.
Oh, guy came in all the tough talk and didn't get it done. Dan Campbell should be the coach for life if he wants to be in Detroit, because he has single-handedly changed the culture and the thought process people have. And he did it with a guy that we thought was a journeyman quarterback who didn't have any good football left. So I love Dan
Last
Campbell.
year, this guy admitted halfway through the season, I'm fired. He's like, I started packing up the house, selling
You
the kids.
played against him. You
I
must have,
played,
right?
Yeah, he's a tough dude. But at the end of the day, this guy has turned the culture over by the fact that he started hiring. You talking about Antoine Randall. You talk about Aaron Glenn being a decent coordinator. Like he said, listen, I'm going to get ball players to coach ball players, and we're going to do it together.
Yeah, and I
that
think
was a hell
that's
of a
the right
job.
trend, too, because
Yeah.
as you guys and all the other guys have sat in between, you guys have said, there is a difference when you've played and not played.
100%.
Because Aaron Glenn, who's a legendary New York Jet, obviously, as defensive coordinator, he knows what goes through a player's mind emotionally,
right.
mentally, how the week sets up. And you think would be a good read on a guy that might be down, a guy that might be two up, all that stuff. And there's a reason Detroit's a really good team. Now, they're favored this week by 5.5. It's a meaningless game. It's what we call in the business a get the stank off game. And that's all this is for Detroit.
Moving on to second in football. Watching Lamar Jackson play football is so much fun, and even his teammates enjoy it. Here's Roquan Smith on when the offense is on the field.
I was like a little kid at the movie theaters, except I didn't have popcorn, but it was pretty sweet, man. And the guy's a warrior, busts his tail day in and day out, and come out here, we at the bank. He know we have to protect the bank by any means necessary, and he did just that. And look where we are, and we go through him. So I'm just proud to be on this team and not going against him. I'll say that.
So he's the MVP, the number one seed.
Yeah.
Is Lamar Jackson the most exciting player to watch?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 of them that would come to mind, but he's up there on the list for sure. Most exciting quarterback, I can tell you that right now, that's left in the playoffs, with all due respect to the other really good quarterbacks, especially the machine out in San Francisco, Brock Purdy, who does things that most quarterbacks never even dream of doing. Getting out of the pocket.
Not even dream of it.
Like what?
And doing it,
Going
doing
through progressions?
his non-system type, machine stuff. It's funny. I watch Roquan Smith, and I remind myself of the heist that Baltimore pulled off last year in getting Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
And while it didn't pay off last year because, Lamar got hurt, Roquan Smith with the interception last weekend, of course, against Miami is one of the big reasons why that defense is so damn good. When you talk about Lamar, one of the things that gets me with quarterbacks, there's some quarterbacks who have that beautiful textbook, form where, the hand's back, the left hand is up. It's that beautiful follow through, the pronation of the wrist, all the stuff they teach in the book, right? Then you have guys, and there's only a handful of them that I've ever seen. Randall Cunningham was one. Mike Vick was one. Dan Marino kind of had it as well. Mahomes has it, where I watched some of those plays we just showed. And it's not all that kind of stuff. It's literally boop, and it's 50 yards down the field.
Like at a wrist.
Like I guess Aaron Rodgers kind of has that a little bit, where it's nothing. Like you saw the pass there, I think it was the one to Zay Flowers, where it's 45 yards in the air, and it's on a dot, and it's in rhythm, and it's right in the breadbasket, and he didn't put anything into it.
He doesn't step into it the same way other quarterbacks.
It's crazy to me. Mike Vick's probably the best example of that I've ever seen in my lifetime, where it was just a boop, and zoom.
Watch his feet. Watch his feet in the highlights.
Crazy.
But that's the thing. His mechanics are a lot better, right? His feet, his eyes, he's trusting his eyes, his decision making is a lot better. He's doing a better job throwing outside the numbers I've ever seen throughout his career.
And I would say the single biggest hire or acquisition in the offseason leading into the 2023-2024 season is not a player. And obviously there are a lot of big signings. The Jets, of course, got Aaron Rodgers, right? He gets hurt, it doesn't work out. The single most important and biggest acquisition this past offseason was the Baltimore Ravens getting Todd Monken. He overhauled the entire offensive thought process. He wasn't afraid to let Lamar stay in the pocket if he wanted to. He wasn't afraid to tell Lamar, if you want to run, go run, be you.
Right.
The previous regime there, under Harbaugh, who's still there, was applauding, we're going to run the ball a lot.
Run the ball, maybe Andrews.
And then 3rd and long, ask Lamar to make a play kind of thing. But Todd Monken came in and said, I'm going to just use you for what you do best. Meaning, here's the kitchen sink, everybody. We got a lot of playmakers here. I trust you to decide who gets the ball here, who gets the ball there. And plus, the acquisition of Zay Flowers in the draft this year was amazing that Duke can ball.
Yeah, the bottom line, also, let's not forget, they questioned this man's heart, right? With the injury in the knee, there was a partial like, man, is this guy our future, right? How can he not put everything on the line? And by the way, he didn't have a deal. So they wanted everything for nothing, and he's delivered thus far.
And sometimes you got to get lucky, too. And sometimes the deal you don't make is the best deal you got. Because I will go down, you could go back and watch the old tapes of the show, a lot of people do, and you could go out there, and I remember the entire offseason, could not believe that the Baltimore Ravens said to Lamar Jackson, go shop yourself.
But Craig, the whole league turned their back on him. There was only 2 teams that acquired for him, and that was the Panthers and Raiders. Everybody else is like, no, we're good.
Because imagine you're the New York Jets, my favorite team. You weren't willing to give up 2 first-round draft picks to get this guy?
MVP.
Right?
MVP of the league.
I mean, you talk about a lot of average to bad teams. He was available to everybody, and nobody made him an offer and wanted to give up 2 first-round draft picks, and that's the greatest thing that ever happened to the Baltimore Ravens.
And one of the big question marks about him was his health. And look, he started every single game.
Yeah.
And we're moving on to third in football, where another quarterback that has started every single game, Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs have won 8 straight division titles. Pat has won 7 of those 8, and he spoke about how this one is different.
I mean, obviously, the season hasn't been. We're not winning this in week 12 or week 13 like we have before. I mean, we had to battle through adversity and find a way to win this game, but it's not over.
Is this the worst you felt about the Chiefs since Patrick Mahomes has been in the Chiefs?
Yeah, and I can't believe he's wearing that State Farm MVP shirt, to a press conference and a members-only jacket. Guy made $500 million. We can dress a little better. That being the case, yeah, it is. And it's not all him. It's partially him. Yeah. He hasn't played his best football. Nope. I don't think he'd be the first one to tell you that from a turnover standpoint. And I've never seen that guy bounce as many balls as he has this year to receivers. But Travis Kelce's going to have 1,000 yards, but he's not had a great year by his own standards, by every other tight end standards. Really good statistically. The offensive line has not been great. He's under duress a lot. They lead the league in drops. Mm-hmm. They don't use Pacheco enough for my liking. If I'm a Chiefs fan, similar to the Eagles and DeAndre Swift, I don't understand why they're reluctant to use him more. Defensively, they've come on. But I think that's a bit of fool's gold because of who they've come on against. I'm not impressed when you throttle a backup quarterback. You should throttle a backup quarterback. They're backups for a reason. But I will always have that caveat. If Patrick Mahomes is on the field, I believe in him. I don't believe in the Chiefs anymore globally, like as a unit. But if you tell me it's a 1-score game and he's got the rock, I believe that guy right there is always going to make a play to win a playoff game. That being said, I can't wait to see what happens if they win their first round playoff game, which is not an easy game. It might be against the Bills if the Bills beat Miami, and see what that team does on the road. Yeah, because that would fascinate me.
Yeah, but the problem is football is a one-on-one sport. Yeah, you put your money on Mahomes, right? But that's not the case. You talk about the Green Bay game, MVS with the big drop, right? You go to the Buffalo game, Kadarius Toney being offside.
That's a good point.
There's been time after time where everybody around him has failed him. And there was a big trust issue with this team. Because valid, Rashee Rice has come on from, but everybody else has kind of been in the middle of the road.
Yeah, you're right. And by the way, while you're looking at that, that's right now in the moment. That's not going to be the matchups, right? Because the Bills are going to beat the Miami Dolphins. They're going to be the 2 seed. Miami's going to drop to the 6 seed there, and they're going to play Kansas City in the first round, and that's going to be a rematch of the Germany game when Kansas City get out to that 21-0 lead on that fluke turnover play in the sideline, and then they got shut out in the second half, and the Dolphins came back and scored 2 touchdowns that Kansas City no answers for, and 21-14 was the final. I think we're getting a rematch. I think Kansas City, Miami, wild card weekend, Arrowhead Stadium, and let's see what you got. Tua versus Mahomes.
Andy Reid, Mike McDaniel.
In the late window, as they say, on wild card weekend. I can't wait for the playoffs. This week is such a waste for me. I cannot wait. I can't wait till January 13th and 14th and the opening weekend of the NFL playoffs. Plus, it means we're a month closer to our only vacation week of the year.
That's true.
I'll be here every day.
All right, coming up. we've got winners and losers from Week 17 right after this on FS1. Time now for a little segment we like to call winners and losers. Week 17, here we go. Dallas Cowboys, Week 17 winners. Courtesy, of course, of the NFL Zebras, who gave them a gift-wrapped win for the holidays against the Detroit Lions. And the fact that some dude named Barnes, number 55 on the Lions, decided not to sack Dak Prescott in the end zone for a safety. But the Dallas Cowboys, not only do they win the game against Detroit, now they win the NFC East, now they get the 2 seed, and now they get a home game, meaning they get to play in a building where they have not lost all year. And I think the streak is now 15 straight wins in Dallas. Big winners.
8-0 at home for the season. Big time. Listen, the Cowboys have way more confidence. They're way more explosive. Defensively, that's where we got to shake our heads and say, who are they and what are they? So we'll see.
All right, one thing about this for the Cowboys is we do question the defense, but I also question the offense. They had the ball.
They did.
Under the 2 minute, after the 2 minute, and they didn't run the ball. They kept throwing the ball. I think they burned like 30 seconds of clock time that put the Lions in position.
Well, and that's the Mike McCarthy kind of right
Mike
there.
McCarthy.
And, yeah, it's what it is. You know, he's got a Super Bowl, can't take it away, but he's been plagued by ridiculous coaching decisions in big games, specifically in the playoffs in Green Bay. And if he pulls that crap in a playoff game and Dallas loses, he will be fired.
He will.
Because Jerry Jones is not going to tolerate incompetence on the sideline. All right, Week 17 loser, NFL officials.
Oh.
Yeah, it's time.
You suck.
When you are the story for the wrong reason after this, crap that took place last Saturday night, you're not, reporting the right guys, eligible, not eligible, all that stuff, and you cost the Detroit Lions an opportunity for the 2 seed and maybe even the 1 seed, and now force them to go on the road in the second week of the playoffs because of the seeding. That's on you. They've been demoted. They will not get to do a postseason game, nor should they. That guy, wife filed for divorce, he's bankrupt, and he's a loser.
I think he changed his name, moved to Mexico.
Yeah, by the way, I invented part of that. Just to be fair, I do not know if he's married or if his wife left him or if he's bankrupt.
Should.
But I would check all wires to the Cayman Islands right now. All right, next, a Week 17 winner. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The Bucs.
Tampa pulled a fast one on New Orleans and Atlanta. They lost last week to the New Orleans Saints, making everybody think, ooh, we've got ourselves a playoff game. Whoever wins the Saints-Falcons game is going to win the division. Hold your horses right there.
Uh-oh.
Tampa knew that they had Carolina in Week 18, and nobody loses to Carolina other than the Houston Texans, which is another story for another day. Tampa wins the division by beating the Carolina Panthers. This was genius by Baker Mayfield, and Tampa would have a lousy game, go into the playoffs on a 1-game winning streak, and win the division. Tampa, winners.
Yeah, I would be heartbroken if the Panthers win and David Tapper throws another drink on,
yes.
this guy.
On people.
Well, I just learned today from Craig Carton that if Baker Mayfield wins this game, he gets what, $2 million?
$2 million bonus.
Guaranteed win.
Yeah, so think about this. This is legitimately, you guys have all heard the term, pay to play.
Yeah.
You win a football game, they give you a $2 million check at the end of that game.
Yeah.
That's called incentive.
Don't turn over football, you win the game. Bottom line, you're richer man.
That's called incentive. Yeah. That's right. All right.
Baker, though.
Week 17 losers. Obviously, the Detroit Lions. We've already explained why. Feel bad for you, but too bad. All right. Week 17 winner. For two reasons. The winner, of course, is Rams head coach Sean McVay. Number one, they locked up a playoff spot. They don't even have to play anybody against San Francisco. Their spot is all said and done and locked in, and they're the one wild card team. Nobody wants to play. But the other reason he's a winner, and I hope the guys are thinking upstairs, is because he outkicked his coverage.
Oh, yes, he did.
When it came to
yeah! Look at that.
If I may make a request,
McVay.
full screen.
Okay.
Miss McVay.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
That's the quickest they've ever responded.
That's why you leave the office early.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And you can understand the slump now, right? He's focused at home. Now he's back on the job.
His dad.
He's doing
Yeah,
that.
baby. Oh, yeah, all
Family
good.
man, family
Got
man.
his balance.
Week 17, loser, and I'll say plural, losers. The aforementioned Saints and Falcons, who both thought this is going to be a great week for us. We're going to win the division. Oh, no, we're not, damn it. They play the Carolina Panthers. So New Orleans, Derek Carr, peace out, didn't get the job done.
Nope.
Atlanta, Desmond.
Yeah. Arthur Smith's probably going to get fired at the end of the season,
Yeah,
too.
he should. They're both garbage. All right, Week 17 winner.
Nurse.
We have decided the MVP, and his name is Lamar Jackson.
Finally!
Yeah.
Is that just right now?
That's right now.
Oh,
That-
yeah. You got minus 20,000.
Yeah.
Now.
Can I borrow $20,000 to win 100?
Minus.
Yeah.
Can I borrow $20,000 to win 100?
$20,000 wager to win $100.
You bet 100,000.
By the way,
doing?
and somebody will do it.
Yes.
You think somebody will do that?
100% yes. There'll be a wealthy Ravens fan who wants the attention and risk $20K to win $100. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's gambling, buddy.
Put up 100,000,
And
get 500.
We'll end it now with your final Week 17 Allahu Azehers. Sorry, not sorry. Philadelphia Eagles.
Billy.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Stink.
All that smack talk for 3 months about we're going back to the Super Bowl. We're 10-1.
Oh,
What the
poor
hell are
lady.
you doing?
I want to
lady.
see her in some other clothes myself.
Right.
That being the case, we've got the unstoppable Tushy Pushy, and then how you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, I've always said there's nothing sexier than a woman in a jersey, but that kind of changes my thoughts on it. That being said, Eagle fans who talked all that smack for months and months and months, oh, brotherly shove, you guys are bitter because you can't stop it. You suck. All right?
Yeah.
Your defense is the worst in football over the course of the last 2 months. Your offense is in shatters right now. You're all mad at the head coach. You fired your defensive coordinator. You brought in a guy that's worse. It sucks being an Eagle fan right now, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah.
Eagle fans, losers right now in our first winners and losers segment of 2024.
Yeah, you got to believe when the Eagles go on the road, they can be out early.
Yes.
The way they've been playing.
I also think if they actually went into the lab, they could actually make a run to the NFC Championship game. I do think the talent's there to do it. I just think they're getting in their own way, and they're just brain dead on the sideline. I get why A.J. Brown's pissed at the coaching staff. The talent's there. The coaching sucks.
They'll likely be on the road in Tampa, and they will likely be favored.
Yeah, and by the way, you can start asking yourselves this question. Did the Eagles make a mistake in prematurely giving Jalen Hurts $200 million?
No, Craig.
Damn it, I thought I'd say
No.
Wait, wait till they lose to the Bucks, then we can start asking that question.
He's trying to. Why you in it?
You tried.
The man's done a hell of a job this season.
Shoot your shot.
I'm ahead of the curve.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I may even go
Remember
to the,
this moment.
I may even go to the receipt board on that one. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. We'll get to that in the offseason after they lose in the first round. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. All right, listen, coming up, of course, last night, the college football games. We now have a national title game at hand. And let's focus in, I think, on Dak Prescott, right?
Yep.
Dak Prescott, Cowboys. Can they rock the 2 seed all the way to a Super Bowl? Find out right after this.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Carton Show. Look at this from last night. It is Michigan. Blake running all the way into the end zone, and then Alabama has a chance to match. Do they do it? Nope. Low snap, get tackled, and then lose. And then in the nightcap, it was the Washington Huskies, and the Longhorns had a chance, but Ewers could not complete the pass. So it is the Huskies against the Wolverines. Now, Craig, you mentioned this earlier.
I did.
Let's imagine a scenario in which the Wolverines win. Should Harbaugh then stay coaching Michigan?
No.
Or move on?
Very few guys, gals, get the chance to leave with a title. That's the last thing you do at whatever level you're at. And this would be special. First title in 25 years. Brings Michigan back to glory. Great recruiting, great blah, blah, blah. Also marred by a lot of scandals and controversies. So why deal with the crap of having to control, 150 19 to 23-year-old kids and the portal and all the stuff that comes with it. You win the title, and you go right to the NFL where you got to deal with grown men who cause you problems. But they're different problems, right? Because they're grown men, and you know they're getting paid to play. I just think Jim Harbaugh has a chance to do something special. Win a college title by beating Washington next Monday night, and then go right to the NFL, get a Sean Payton kind of deal, 5 years, $90 million, and win a title in the NFL. And I think it's on the table. He's already proven that he's a great college coach. I know he doesn't have the national title, but he's got everything else. I know his bowl record isn't all that great. I think it's 3-5 now in bowl games. But he's now in a national title game. He's got a chance to win a national title.
Sure.
And there's still all this crap kind of circling around him from your cheating scandals, recruiting scandals. Why deal with it? Go be an NFL coach, make more money in the NFL, have less pressure than you have dealing with a bunch of kids essentially, and go coach the LA Chargers. Because if Jim Harbaugh is available and on the Los Angeles Chargers and I have a chance to go get him, he's the first and only phone call I make. He overnight changes the fortunes of the Charger franchise. And I'm trying to figure out why Justin Herbert, who's making $200+ million, hasn't won a playoff game yet. That guy can answer it.
Yeah, but if I'm Harbaugh, why leave? He's.
I tell you why.
Look how big Nick Saban is. Nick Saban is the most important man in the state of Alabama.
I get it.
Bottom line, he can be the same thing for Michigan if he wins this national
because he's dealt with so much crap off the field. And
he
some of it on the
survived
field.
it all.
He survived it, and I know they're talking like a $50 million extension. To me, there's so much crap that college coaches have to deal with now, starting with NIL, then going to the portal and guys waking up on the wrong side of the bed. Oh, my daddy wants you to guarantee me that I'll be the starting blank. If not, I'm out. Why deal with that crap?
Yeah, but look at the situation with Nick Sirianni's in, right? His star wide receiver hates him, right? He has a defense that has more holes in it than Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
The media can't stand it. Why leave that? Why go into that world out in San Diego?
Because you said something 45 minutes ago that I'm going to double down on right now.
That's right.
You said one of the biggest things right now in coaching is taking former players because they relate to current players.
Correct.
The dude played in the NFL.
Yes, he did.
He was a quarterback for the Colts. He now can relate to NFL players. I think the world of Jim Harbaugh. No disrespect to Robert Saleh. I openly campaigned for the New York Jets to go get Jim Harbaugh at any cost. I thought he was the right guy for the job. I still feel that way. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I hate the NCAA. I hate the direction of college football. I mean, all these bowl games, like 40% of the dudes who played to get you to a bowl game opted out of playing in the bowl game. I want no part of that world.
Also from the NFL side is we've seen some coaches like Matt Rule and some others go from college to the NFL and not be successful.
Right.
We've already seen him be successful in the NFL. He won the Super Bowl, so it's not a risk.
But to your point, Jacoby, I'm only leaving Michigan if I have the perfect situation. He went to the Super Bowl with a top 5 defense and Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
He's going to land potentially with the Chargers with Justin Herbert and a horrible defense.
Willie, you know what the perfect situation is? A huge deal. It's going to be more
but
than
his stage money isn't everything. It's about the power. It's about the power and what he's done that year after year, recruit the best and win football games. I think he doesn't leave. I think I would leave.
If I'm Michigan, I do everything I can, and that includes calling Steve Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, who's the single biggest benefactor of Michigan football, and I asked him to write an even bigger check. Now, Harbaugh and Steve Ross are like oil and water.
Yes.
Because Harbaugh's made some demands for like private jets and things like that. And Ross is like, go coach football. I mean, that's factual. That happened.
Yeah, that happened.
I just think, and I'm saying this, if he wins. If Michigan wins the national championship, and I think they will, and I'm a big fan of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, I would go right to the NFL and I would say, okay, here are the best situations. I think the Chargers is one of them because you've got an all-world quarterback, and he gets it from an offensive coordinator standpoint. Man, I would be all over the NFL. If Sean Payton gets 5 years, $90 million, what's Jim Harbaugh going to get? Same type of deal.
Right?
We're all celebrating him now, and they're going to go to the national championship. Hopefully they win, right? But I'll say this. 4 years ago, it was fire Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
4 years ago, it was fire Jim Harbaugh.
But that goes to my point. He survived it all. Now he's at the top of the mountain. Michigan can't be more hotter.
But you know what the deal is? Even if he wins the championship, next year it's like, you better beat Ohio State.
But that's always,
You better
but that's
beat Ohio
always gonna be
State.
that's always going to be the
You know what I
narrative.
mean? I just think it's so hard to win a national title these days because the movement of the kids, the top kids go from school to school to school to school to school. And there are different worries when you're talking about 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
I would get away from the college game as quickly as possible if I could. And not a lot of guys have those opportunities to do it. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I go to the NFL, where, as Jacoby said, and he's right. I don't want to get into a Kaepernick conversation, but he won with an unproven guy that nobody ever heard of named Colin Kaepernick. He won with Alex Smith. The guy's a winner. Wherever he goes, he wins.
Yeah, but
I love it. By the way, I love Robert Saleh. I would recommend you fire Robert Saleh if I could get Jim Harbaugh.
You can't call him a friend.
Whoa, come on.
You can't call him a friend and ask for a fire. You're not my friend if you want me fired.
Robert, he doesn't mean that, Robert. He does not mean that, Mr. Saleh, Coach.
I want to be clear.
Clear that up.
I want to be clear.
Because if you're my friend, you're not asking for me to
Robert
be
Saleh
fired.
is a dear friend of mine.
Yes.
Talk all the time, text all the time. We're playing golf together in 2 weeks. All right? Here's the deal. If I can get Jim Harbaugh, sorry, Robert.
Whoa.
What are you doing?
Whoa, Craigie.
If I was Robert Saleh watching this, I would delete your number
right
and
now.
I'll throw a Molotov cocktail through your window.
By the way, it's not even your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Sean. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Except it might be your fault.
It might be your fault. Maybe. Listen, if you're Jim Harbaugh, listen, stay in Michigan, get a statue right next to the great Bo Schembechler.
Sure.
And you'll go down as a god. Like the NFL, you've done it. It's been great.
If he wins the title, he gets the trophy and the bust and the statue.
Yeah,
no matter what. And then you go right to the NFL. You steal their money for 5 years.
Stay in Michigan.
And then it's a wrap.
Craig, can I interest you in a story about chaos in Philadelphia?
Yeah, of course.
Boom! Our next headline is exactly that. The Philadelphia Inquirer. They have a report about some of the turmoil in the locker room. A.J. Brown did not talk to the media, but now his teammates have said that he's very upset with the coaches. We've seen Sirianni go back and forth with some defensive players, go back and forth with DeVonta Smith. So, what does this all tell you about the Eagles as they head into the playoffs?
That they're a train wreck. And it's kind of like, like the old thing, if you take a pebble and you go to a nice flaccid lake and you drop a pebble in the lake and the reverberating rings.
Butterfly effect.
Okay, hold on a second. And you drop a pebble in the lake and the rings kind of go out and they don't stop, on and on and on. To me,
You drop a pebble.
you drop a bunch of pebbles. All right.
I got a licorice one.
Yeah, good.
Just stay with the purple ones.
I think the Eagles are just that one pebble away.
Yeah.
I think now it has to be perfect for them to have long-term success into the playoffs because they're dysfunctional right now. You've got people pointing fingers now, players at coaches, coaches at each other, whatever the case may be. Defensively, they've been terrible for the last 2 months. Worst defense statistically in the league from a points against standpoint. 7 out of their last 10 games, they've given up 30 points in 7 of those games. And obviously what happened against Arizona. New York, Arizona, New York, their last 3 games was supposed to be the ticket to maybe the 1 seed, but certainly the division title and 2 home playoff games before the championship game. And they would have been favored in those 2 games, no matter who they played against. And now it seems like they're all on on thin ice right now that if one thing goes wrong, like if Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball in the first quarter or throws an interception or whomever they're playing against goes on an opening drive for a touchdown, that the whole thing collapses right there. I think they are barely hanging on by a string right now.
And this is why the loss to the Cardinals stunk, right? Because Jonathan Gannon, it was the old defensive coordinator for the Eagles. And what's the one sore spot for the Eagles right now? Their defense, right? And so it's bothersome because Nick Sirianni, when you're the head coach and you're demoting guys, promoting guys, and you're looking for answers and nothing's coming awry, it's really on your head at the end of the day because you don't look like you're confident enough to handle the job because this team should be competing for a big.
Also, there's something to be said about that. If I can compare them to the Bills just in one way. The Bills fired Ken Dorsey.
Yes, they did.
Here's your severance paycheck. Good luck to you. And then you get the old stock line if you've ever been fired. Thank you for your contributions. Wish you well in your future endeavors. Right? That stock firing line.
Let me know if you need a recommendation.
Right, exactly right. The Eagles demoted the coordinator. They didn't fire him. And to me, that's a mistake. And I'm sure he's a good guy. I'm blocking on his name now. Sean Desai. I know very little about Sean Desai.
Nobody.
Other than he got demoted. He was promoted from within. Totally respect that.
Young.
Didn't get the job done. But you left him around. To me, if you've got, in a bad word, a cancer or a problem, you got to rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it. That's what the Bills did. The Bills didn't say, hey, Ken Dorsey,
hang around.
Hang around and still be a void. No, it doesn't work because we think you're the problem. Philly saying Desai, we think you're the problem, so much so that we're going to promote a guy who's terrible, to be fair, in Matt Patricia, but we're going to leave Desai around. Here's what happens. I'm sure that Desai has got a couple guys that are his guys.
Oh, 100%.
Every coach does.
100%.
You know that. Meaning that when Matt Patricia makes a decision, rolling of the eyes, the guys go to Desai offline like, you believe this? 3-4 in that spot. We got to run the whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. If you think that that guy's the reason that your defense was bad, then you have to fire him. I get no joy out of it, but that's the only way to do it.
You're absolutely right. There's a personnel problem with the Eagles, and we've done some research. We have some analytics.
Oh,
Do you know
I
what
like
that personnel problem with the
Analytics.
Eagles is?
Analytics.
Here's what the personnel problem is. With Dom on the sideline.
Yes.
10-1. Without Dom.
Nice.
1-4.
Oh, he just hate to see it.
There it is right there.
Get him on the sideline, Philly.
Get Dom back. Whatever it takes to get Dom back.
at all costs.
Get Dom back. Get Dom back. Get Dom back. Okay.
Get Dom back.
Get Dom back.
If I may.
Dom back.
I don't want Dom back.
Wow.
I like the way this is going. I like the direction.
Keep Dom out.
Yeah.
Keep Dom out. Keep Dom out.
Yeah, like that fat bastard's their good luck charm.
And he is.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers.
Fat people are
Those are
lucky.
analytics, Craig. Those are analytics.
It really is crazy that, his suspension and $100,000 fine, which the team I know paid for, as they should have, by the way, coincides with the worst football they've played. Maybe this, by the way.
But it started with San Fran.
Here's what now. If the Eagles were clever, and they're not, but if the Eagles were clever, here's what you do. You make an announcement that Dom DiNardo is our new defensive coordinator.
I love this.
Because by rule, he's now allowed to be back on the sideline.
Yeah.
He has the title, you pay him, but he doesn't do anything.
No.
Right? And at least you have your good luck charm back on the sideline.
Oh, even better. I've got your offensive coordinators.
Let me hear it.
We're going to bring them in, too. We've got them right here.
Oh, my God.
Buf. There they are.
See? I like these guys.
I love these guys.
These guys get it. Run the damn ball with DeAndre
They're
Swift.
your offensive coordinators. Dom is your
Right.
defensive coordinator.
And they're committed.
Super Bowl champion Eagles.
Because they've been out there early in the morning just waiting
Yes.
for.
Look at my man with his
And by the way,
arm on the side.
You know
Somebody
full
for a while.
well that they're somehow related to Tommy DeVito, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, call Uncle Steve. Get him up there
that
now.
Jersey-Philadelphia connection runs deep.
Like, I feel bad this guy's been 4 weeks without a job.
All right, we're going to move on to our final headline,
run right.
and it involves the Dallas Cowboys. We all saw what happened at the end of the Cowboys game. The refs let them win the game.
Oh.
Yes.
And then we saw what happened with the Eagles. They somehow lost to the Cardinals. And here's Mike McCarthy talking about the ramifications of those two things.
I think clearly where we are today, we put ourselves in position to win the division and, knowing the number 2 seed. So that's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's a great place to be, but you didn't put yourself there.
You did not put yourselves in that position.
The refs put you there, and the Eagles put you there
Yes.
by giving up 35 points at home to the Arizona Cardinals. That's why you're there. Now, to be fair, you lost to the Cardinals also. So the Arizona Cardinals are like NFC East killers this year, despite having, 3 wins, 4 wins, whatever it is. Look, you never apologize for mistakes that help you out. It's not the Dallas Cowboys' fault that the referee's an idiot, right? It's not. So you benefited from it. Take it. Don't complain about it. Don't apologize for it, and run with it. The Dallas Cowboys now have at least 1, maybe 2, home playoff games in a place where they've won 15 consecutive games by an average margin of damn near 3 touchdowns. So now it's on like Donkey Kong. You thought you're a Super Bowl champion club. The owner said it a million times, Jerry Jones.
Jerry.
Now there's no excuses. If the Dallas Cowboys, and they are the 2 seed, and they'll beat Washington, and that's a lock, it's all done. They are the 2 seed. If the Dallas Cowboys are not playing in the NFC Championship game against what we all think will be the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco, then something went horribly wrong along the way.
Yeah, then how can you pay Dak after that, right? Because there's been so much talk about his extension, paying Michael Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. The main goal for the Cowboys right now is getting to the Super Bowl. First, got to go to the NFC title game, but winning a Super Bowl. Hopefully they can do it. I don't think they can.
With 2 home games, with no home losses, you got to get to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, but now the pressure's on them. And the
I
one
like
thing
that.
we don't know about Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott is how are they going to perform with that pressure?
we
Well, we know
not
their
know?
track
Do we
record.
not know?
We know.
Well, but
Do we
that's
not
the
know?
point.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy's made some boneheaded coaching decisions in big spots in the playoffs, and Dak Prescott's only got 2 playoff wins. Now, thus far, it's been money good. But my question is, at home where you're supposed to win, can you win? All right, Biggs, ready? Here we go. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
I get the Lions.